Chapter 3188. He noticed that this Sea Dragon city governor was not considered handsome among the male cultivators, but he gave people a feeling of showing off his ability. He looked like a sharp sword that could take people's lives from thousands of miles away. At first glance, he was not a simple person. The kind of sharpness on his body was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. This is an expert. I feel that he is not an ordinary upper heavenly supreme. After a little judgment, Night Sorrow felt that this Sea Dragon city governor was not simple. At this moment, the Sea Dragon city governor found that someone was looking at him, and he immediately looked at Night Sorrow. Governor. Being looked at like this, Night Sorrow immediately felt like he was locked on by two sword rays. He immediately cupped his fists and gestured. Yin Yi and Xian Nian, who were watching the battle, also looked at the governor at the same time and called out. The Sea Dragon city governor saw that the person was brought by Yun Yi, and his aura was not bad, so he knew that Night Sorrow was a contestant. So he hummed and did not make a fuss about it. At this time, the battle between the genius of Lu Tian Academy, Fan Tu, and Centurion Hei Qi had reached the climax. Centurion Hei Qi was being suppressed continuously, and he was obviously losing face. He had begun to use all kinds of trump cards. After all, he was a middle heavenly supreme, and he had a certain advantage in terms of realm. He used all his means to turn the situation around in an instant. The two of them were evenly matched in the battle. In this case, Fan Tu glanced at the Sea Dragon city governor and did not use his strongest means. He only used some of the means that he had just used, and he was evenly matched with Centurion Hei Qi. At this time, the Sea Dragon city governor, who saw Fan Tu holding back, said, "Since it's a competition, let's stop here." Hei Qi, you lost. Governor, Hei Qi is useless. Hearing this, Centurion Hei Qi immediately stopped. He knelt down on one knee and said to the Sea Dragon city governor, "It's okay. Fan Tu is a top genius of Lu Tian Academy, it's normal that you can't beat him." The Sea Dragon city governor comforted Centurion Hei Qi, and waved to Fan Tu, saying, "Take a seat and watch the others fight." Fan Tu was very arrogant, but the Sea Dragon city governor still gave him an irrefutable feeling. "Yes, city lord." Fan Tu cupped his hands toward the master of Sea Dragon city and was about to enter his seat. At this moment, Fan Tu glanced at the crowd and suddenly saw Night Sorrow. He was stunned. Then, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Haha. I didn't expect that you would come to Sea Dragon City. Do you know how much effort it took Brother Dongqing to find you? Lin Dongqing? Are you one of his men?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow was puzzled. He had killed Lin Dongqing's clan brother, and Lin Dongqing had coveted his ancient coffin. The hatred between the two of them was very difficult to resolve. He knew that if Fan Tu was Lin Dongqing's man, he would definitely cause trouble for him. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Fan Tu sneered and said, "You're also from the Killer Heaven Academy. You should know that Lin Dongqing is the strongest person in our batch. You are his enemy, which means you are our enemy. So, you're his lackey?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow understood that Lin Dongqing should have defeated all the people in the previous batch. Fan Tu should have also chosen to surrender, but he didn't say it so directly because he wanted to save face. Night Sorrow, who knew that it would not be easy to resolve their differences, sneered coldly. "Bastard. Night Devil, you're courting death. Come out, let's fight." Being ridiculed by Night Sorrow, Fan Tu immediately became furious and provoked Night Sorrow. "Both of you, can you listen to me?" Before Night Sorrow could answer, the master of Sea Dragon City opened his mouth and said. According to his character, speaking like this was already very respectful. "Please speak, City Lord." Fan Tu also knew that he and Night Sorrow had stolen the limelight, so he immediately said politely. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. At this time, the master of Sea Dragon City said, "Both of you are geniuses invited by Sea Dragon City with a lot of money. Is this true?" "Yes. City Lord." After the master of Sea Dragon City said this, Fan 2 immediately responded. Night Sorrow still didn't speak, because he felt that there was no need to answer. At this time, Yin Yi transmitted a message to the Master of Sea Dragon City, telling him the relationship between Night Sorrow and himself. Hearing Yun Ye's words, the Master of Sea Dragon City transmitted a message, "Well, I understand." Then the Master of Sea Dragon City said coldly, "Since both of you are invited by Sea Dragon City, shouldn't you fight here?" "Yes, City Lord. Our enmity will be settled after I've helped you with your matter." After the Master of Sea Dragon City finished speaking, Fan 2's momentum immediately weakened. This time, the resources offered by Sea Dragon City made him very excited. And the Master of Sea Dragon City was also a strong person, so he didn't dare to disobey him. After all, his family was different from the big family behind Lin Dongqing. Walking in the foggy area, he didn't have the capital to be blocked. In that case, both of you should watch the battle at ease. After the Master of Sea Dragon City finished speaking, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Devil, right? What do you think?" "I think it's not a big deal to have a fight here to liven things up for everyone. As a cultivator, if our thoughts are not clear, it's not good for cultivation. Let's have a fight to clear our thoughts," Night Sorrow said with a smile. He had just comprehended the three-word formula, and he saw that Fan 2's body was a dragon. In Yan's cave, he had learned a unique skill called the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill. This unique skill was not inferior to superpowers at all, and its value was similar to superpowers, but it was specially designed for dragons. At this time, Night Sorrow was ready to test the effect of the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill. "Oh. You, a middle earthly sovereign, want to challenge a lower heavenly sovereign?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Master of Sea Dragon City asked doubtfully. In fact, what he had just said was already considered to be defending Night Sorrow. After all, the gap between their realms was huge, and Fan 2 could defeat Centurion He Chi. Everyone present was not very optimistic about Night Sorrow. At this time, he took the initiative to issue a challenge, which naturally surprised the Master of Sea Dragon City and the others present. Haha. Master of Sea Dragon City, he took the initiative to issue a challenge. Fan 2 has no reason to refuse. Master of Sea Dragon City, please grant his wish. When Fan 2 heard Night Sorrow's words, he suddenly became energetic and released a strong fighting spirit. "Yes. Since it's the common wish of both of you, I'll grant your wish. But remember, don't go too far. Otherwise, I'll stop you." Seeing Night Sorrow's confident look, the Master of Sea Dragon City suddenly became interested. After all, Night Sorrow's realm was much lower than Fan 2's. Both of them were geniuses of the Lu Tian Academy, so it should be difficult for Night Sorrow to have a chance to defeat him. Therefore, this made him look forward to it even more. He wanted to see how he could unexpectedly challenge the other party. Chapter 3189. Night Devil, how dare you challenge me? Do you think you can fight across realms just because you're the top genius of Lu Tian Academy? Fan 2, who had been sitting down, immediately stood up after Night Sorrow spoke. He said disdainfully, "Now, I'll let you know the difference between heaven and earth." Fan 2 purposely said that Night Sorrow was the top genius of Lu Tian Academy. Of course, he did not mean to brag for Night Sorrow. He wanted to elevate himself by using Night Sorrow's identity. After all, if he won, he would have defeated the top genius of Lu Tian Academy, which would be very honorable. After Fan 2 spoke, everyone, including Yun Yi and the governor of Sea Dragon City, realized that Night Sorrow was the top genius of Lu Tian Academy. In this way, they had some confidence in Night Sorrow. Then come out. However, although the governor's mansion has activated the defensive formation, it may not be able to block our attacks. Let's fight in the void. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he flew directly into the void. Who's afraid of you? Fan 2 was not convinced by Night Sorrow's challenge. He immediately flew into the void. Then he laughed wildly and said, "I'll let you have 3 moves first." Otherwise, you, the top genius of Lu Tian Academy, will be defeated before you even have a chance to fight. No wonder you're Lin Dongqing's lackey. You have bad taste. Knight Sorrow looked at Fan Tu disdainfully and said, "You go first. 3 moves are enough for me to defeat you. If I use 3 moves, you'll be defeated and won't have a chance to fight." According to Knight Sorrow's judgment, apart from the ancient coffin, only 3 moves would work on Fan Tu. The 100-word mantra, the supreme dragon subduing skill, and the Qingxian godly spear technique. As for the divine vitality trap formation, it would be used together with the seal formula of the 100-word mantra. It should be counted as 1 move. Ha ha ha. Arrogant. Then I, Fan Tu, would like to see what else the top genius of Lu Tian Academy can do besides boasting. Being mocked by Yi Shang, Fan Tu flew into a rage. He spat out a mouthful of dragon breath at Knight Sorrow. Fan Tu did not use any of the dragon's moves when he was fighting Centurion Haki. Now that he was fighting Knight Sorrow, the first thing he did was to use it. On the surface, Fan Tu was disdainful of this year's number 1, but in fact, he valued him very much. As expected, when fighting instinctively, I still have to use the dragon's techniques. Azure Phoenix Battle Armor. Knight Sorrow roared as he activated his Azure Phoenix Battle Armor. Blazing flames burst out from his body and collided with Fan Tu's dragon breath. At the same time, he opened the 33 Heavens Combat Arcane skill and adjusted his condition to the peak. He knew clearly that he couldn't be careless when fighting against a genius like Fan Tuesday, otherwise, he would be at a disadvantage. Boom! When the flames of the two collided, a loud explosion was heard. The entire void was dyed red. Neither side suffered any injuries, so it could be considered a draw. Good. They are indeed 2 geniuses. Seeing the first exchange between Knight Sorrow and Fan Tu, the mayor of Sea Dragon City immediately praised. In his heart, he admired Knight Sorrow. After all, geniuses were common, but it was rare to see a genius who could surpass so many levels. You have some skills, but it's not enough. Fan Tu's dragon breath was just a simple test. Seeing that Knight Sorrow had blocked his attack, he immediately took out his divine weapon, Dragon Soul Inverse Scale Spear. Suddenly, he attacked Knight Sorrow with his unique skill, Azure Dragon Heaven Defying Slash. The Dragon Soul Inverse Scale Spear immediately lit up with endless light. The void was completely illuminated. What a strong attack. But in front of me, it's all in vain. Facing Fan Tu's Azure Dragon Heaven Defying Slash, Knight Sorrow could clearly feel the great pressure. At this moment, he didn't dare to be careless and let his opponent do whatever he wanted. Instead, he silently recited the incantation and used the ice word formula and the seal word formula. Then, he waved his hand and used the divine vitality trap array. Fan Tu's attack speed was greatly reduced. Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill. After reducing Fan Tu's attack speed, Knight Sorrow immediately performed the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill. This skill was performed. Fan Tu, who was originally in his human form, was immediately forced to transform into his dragon form. Above the void behind Knight Sorrow, a huge shadow of rock appeared. What kind of skill is this? Fan Tu, who was in his dragon form, suddenly contracted his pupils. The image of the Kuan Peng behind Yi Shang made him feel extremely uncomfortable. It felt like there was something suppressing him in the dark, making it difficult for him to even form a counterattack. Kill. After Knight Sorrow performed the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill and summoned the Shadow of Rock, he immediately roared. He attacked Fan Tu with the Qing Xian superpower formula. At the same time, the huge rock behind him flapped its wings and flew up, grabbing at Fan Tu, who was in his dragon form. Bastard, why do I feel like I can't resist? Fan Tu, whose divine soul was trembling, had no way to deal with the Shadow of Rock summoned by Knight Sorrow. Without putting up much of a fight, he was captured. At this time, Knight Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd had completely arrived, bombarding Fan Tu continuously. Although Fan Tu was one of the best among the lower heavenly sovereigns, he could fight with ordinary middle heavenly sovereigns. But it was still very uncomfortable to face Night Sorrow's bombardment with his body. In an instant, the void was dyed red by dragon blood. At this moment, the others were immersed in Night Sorrow's supreme dragon-subduing skill. That huge Kuan Peng was simply too shocking. At this time, the governor of Sea Dragon City looked at Night Sorrow with a complicated expression, even forgetting to stop. The supreme dragon-subduing skill that Night Sorrow had just performed gave him a familiar feeling. But he couldn't remember what was going on. "Governor, shouldn't we stop now? If we continue to fight, I'm afraid someone will die. If the genius of the Lu Tian Academy dies here, it won't be good for our reputation. And it will affect the fight in the Sea of Evil." Seeing that the governor of Sea Dragon City was distracted, the military counselor immediately advised him. That makes sense." The governor of Sea Dragon City, who came back to his senses, calmed down and said, "Night Devil, the purpose of the fight has been achieved. Let Fan Tu go." "Okay. This person can be released." Night Sorrow responded to the governor of Sea Dragon City, then looked at Fan Tu, who was captured by the rock, and said, "Do you admit defeat?" "No, how can I, Fan Tu, admit defeat? If you have the guts, kill me in front of the governor of Sea Dragon City." Although Fan Tu, who was captured, had no way to break the supreme dragon-subduing skill, he was very stubborn. He felt that Night Sorrow would not dare to kill him in front of the governor of Sea Dragon City. "Do you think I don't dare to kill you in front of the governor of Sea Dragon City? You think too much. I'll give you one last chance. You can choose to lower your head or turn around." Seeing that Fan Tu was unwilling to lower his head, Night Sorrow said coldly, without any intention of indulging him. Chapter 3190. "I just don't believe that you dare to kill me in front of the governor of Sea Dragon City." After Night Sorrow finished his words, Fan Tu said coldly, "If you let me go today, I will definitely kill you in the future. Do it if you dare." "Haha. How dare you provoke me in this situation? Do you really think I won't dare to kill you?" After Night Sorrow finished his words, he directly shot Fan Tu and transmitted his voice. "One of my hidden missions is to kill 20 people from the academy. You are the second one. There is one thing you don't understand. That is, the tea cools down when the person is gone. No matter what I do, the governor of Sea Dragon City won't care about a dead person. Go to hell." In fact, if Fan Tu had given in, Night Sorrow would have let him go. But he had been stubborn. In this way, Night Sorrow didn't want to spoil him anymore. He killed him directly. After killing him, Night Sorrow cupped his fist and said to the governor of Sea Dragon City, "Your Excellency, Night Demon killed Fan Tu, and I will bear the responsibility alone. And I will invite someone from Lu Tian Academy to replace him. Well, if you don't give in, you will die." In this regard, the governor of Sea Dragon City didn't say anything. For him, Fan Tu was just an invited helper. At this time, Night Sorrow promised to invite someone from Lu Tian Academy, so he had nothing to worry about. After all, killing people in a duel was too normal in the foggy area. At this time, he suddenly said, "Night Demon, what is the name of the unique skill you just used? It looks familiar to me, but I remember what's going on." "Your Excellency, the unique skill that Night Demon just used is called the Supreme Dragon Subduing Skill." Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the governor of Sea Dragon City and continued, "Besides, I want to ask you, did you build your mansion by yourself?" "I built it according to some of my memories." The governor of Sea Dragon City didn't hide and answered Night Sorrow directly. "Is this building from your hometown? Or somewhere else?" "The place where the Night Devil came from has a similar building." Night Sorrow continued to transmit his voice. He wanted to confirm if the mayor of Sea Dragon City was someone from the celestial realm. After all, the buildings in front of them were very similar to those in the god realm. "Oh. Is there a pavilion like this in the place where you were born?" Hearing this, the Sea Dragon City Lord immediately perked up. After he woke up in a cave, he couldn't remember who he was. Occasionally, some images would appear in his mind, but they were all very blurry. This made him very vexed that he did not know his true identity at all. Yes. If the time is right in the future, I can bring the City Lord to my hometown to take a look. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Sea Dragon City Lord. Naturally, he wouldn't choose to bring him to the Eternal Supreme Realm now. If the Sea Dragon City Governor lost control, he would most likely destroy the entire Firmament City. Good. If you feel that the time is right, you can look for me at any time and we can go together. If you can help you regain your memories, you will be greatly rewarded. The Sea Dragon City Master transmitted his voice and continued, there have been quite a few battles today. Compared to everyone, I've already had my fill. Next, everyone, let's drink to our heart's content. We won't go home until we're drunk. Under his organization, everyone drank to their heart's content amidst the smell of blood. For cultivators in the fog area, drinking in this kind of aura was a normal thing. When the banquet was almost over, the Sea Dragon City Lord transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow again. Why is the aura on your body so strange? Oh. Why does the City Lord say that? When the Sea Dragon City Lord said this, Night Sorrow was a little surprised, but he controlled his emotions very well. I don't think you're from the fog area. The Sea Dragon City Lord continued. The City Lord must be joking. If the Night Devil isn't from the fog area, why would he appear here? Hearing the Sea Dragon City Lord say this, Night Sorrow's cold sweat flowed down his body. If his identity as the Eternal Supreme Realm was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. But at this moment, the Sea Dragon City Lord continued to transmit his voice, don't be afraid. Actually, it doesn't matter where you come from. I only have two goals. The first is to break through the extreme realm, and the second is to figure out who you are. Whether you're from the fog area, the Eternal Supreme Realm, or other realms, I don't care. What I care about is whether you can help me regain my memories. Do you understand? The Night Devil understands. Night Sorrow replied with lingering fear. He didn't expect that he would be seen through. So he continued to ask, how did the City Lord see through the Night Devil's identity? Since he had been seen through, he had no intention of being stubborn. Extreme realm powerhouses have a special ability to see through the essence of all things in the world. I might have been an extreme realm powerhouse in the past. Although I only have the strength of an upper heavenly supreme now, I can see through many things. The Sea Dragon City Lord didn't hold back and slowly explained the matter. Extreme realm powerhouse? Hearing this, Night Sorrow was shocked. According to what he had heard, there were only 5 extreme realm powerhouses in the Eternal Supreme Realm and the fog area. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow asked in shock, could it be that you are Senior Yen? Yen? This name is so familiar. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon City Lord was stunned. Then he said, it shouldn't be. In my memory, Yen seems to be a woman. I seem to be very familiar with her. Who exactly am I? Clearly, he had fallen into a state of confusion. Think about it carefully, City Lord. If there's nothing else, the Night Devil will rush back to Lu Tian Academy first. Night Sorrow saw that the Sea Dragon City Lord was not in a good state and immediately spoke. Don't worry. At this moment, the Sea Dragon City Lord transmitted his voice and continued, if you return to Lu Tian Academy like this and those 3 top existences bump into you, your identity will definitely be exposed and completely corroded. At that time, you will forget where you came from. How about this, I'll help you. As he spoke, the Sea Dragon City Lord struck out a palm at Night Sorrow. This palm strike unleashed an endless storm. Once the storm appeared, it immediately wrapped around Night Sorrow's body. Surrounded by this black storm, Night Sorrow's aura immediately became even more evil and deep. After doing all this, the Sea Dragon City Lord said, this storm is a supreme realm mark, although you will still be seen by those existences. But they will all think that you were discovered by them first. After all, in their knowledge, there are only 3 supreme realm existences in the fog. Thank you, Sea Dragon City Lord. Knight Sorrow thanked him sincerely and bid farewell to the Sea Dragon City Lord, Yun Yi, and Xian Nian before embarking on the path back to Lu Tian Academy. Along the way, he consumed blackthorn crystals and used the teleportation array to quickly return to Lu Tian Academy. After returning to his residence, the first person Knight Sorrow saw was Ape Tianlai. At this moment, Ape Tianlia's injuries had completely recovered and he was in good condition. His strength was not inferior to some of the students this year. Knight Sorrow immediately decided to bring him to Sea Dragon City. Then, he went to look for Dancing Lady, wanting to invite her to go with him. Other than Dancing Woman, Yi Shang had another target that he was more confident in. Chapter 3191. This person was Su Lei, who had challenged him at the Mountain of Flames. At that time, Su Lei had failed to challenge him and was already considered his servant. Now that he was summoned, the other party had no reason to refuse. However, before looking for Su Lei, Knight Sorrow first went to the Dancing Lady's residence. After seeing the Dancing Lady, he explained his intentions and promised to give a good reward on the basis of the Sea Dragon City Governor. Of course, this reward was for helping him to snatch the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the Dancing Lady said, "In fact, I'm not interested in the reward of the Sea Dragon City Governor and your reward at all. Now that I've entered the Lu Tian Academy, with the great efforts of the clan to nurture me, I don't lack resources at all." Speaking of this, she paused and continued, "But since we've already agreed to cooperate when we joined the Lu Tian Academy, I'll naturally help you with this matter. And you don't need to give me any resources. You just need to help me when I need it." "Sure. But you can't go against my will to help you. If I don't think it's appropriate, I won't do it." Hearing the Dancing Lady's words, Knight Sorrow immediately said. He knew that the other party must have thought of what she wanted him to do. He couldn't agree to everything so foolishly. "Okay. Deal. Also, I have a helper here who will go with you. You've met before." After the Dancing Lady said this, she summoned a hermaphrodite male cultivator from the space grotto heaven and said, "Knight Sorrow, his name is Wu Hua." Wu Hua. When Knight Sorrow heard this name, he immediately said it silently. The hermaphrodite male cultivator Wu Hua immediately said, "Knight Devil, our previous battles were all for the sake of advancing to the Lu Tian Academy. Since everyone has already come in, let's forget about all the grudges. What do you think?" Wu Hua still chose to give in to Knight Sorrow, the top person in this year's competition. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow nodded and said, "It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Let bygones be bygones. However, if you do something against me in the future, I won't show mercy." His words were not polite, but also a warning to the hermaphrodite male cultivator Wu Hua. It showed that he was not an easy person to talk to. Of course. Being warned, the androgynous male cultivator Wu Hua immediately responds politely. Now, everything that Yi Shang had displayed had indeed intimidated them. They didn't dare to harbor any thoughts of hostility. "Good. The two of you come with me to find Su Lei. When we find her, we'll set off together." After dealing with Whirling Woman and No Flower, Knight Sorrow said immediately. He was prepared to bring the three of them and Yuan Tianlai to Sea Dragon City. When the time came, he would have them help him fight against the sea dragons and fight for the 8th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower. That Su Lei seems to have suffered a very serious injury. Upon hearing Yi Shang's words, Dancing Woman said, "That's right." "Oh? What happened?" Knight Sorrow asked with a frown. "Here's the thing. The last time Su Lei lost to you, he was very unwilling, so he wanted to quickly increase his strength. Therefore, he began to crazily accept missions. One of the missions was to enter the battlefield of the Killer Heaven. She met Lin Dongqing from the previous batch. When she was defeated, she was almost molested. In the end, I don't know what method he used, but he couldn't escape. Swaying Woman told him everything about Su Lei. There's such a thing. Where's Su Lei's residence? Take me there. No matter what, Su Lei was his servant. Night Sorrow was very unhappy that she had encountered such a thing. Good. I'll take you there. However, Su Lei's personality is rather arrogant, and he usually doesn't receive any visitors. The swaying woman said as she led Yi Shang to Su Lei's residence. All these years, Su Lei had always been very cold and arrogant, not interacting with anyone. That feeling of being unapproachable was similar to that of Gu Su. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, she can choose not to meet others, but she has no reason to reject me as her master. When they made the bet, they had all made an oath to the heavenly Tao. If Su Lei did not admit his loss, he would definitely be killed by the heavenly Tao, and there would be no room for negotiation. When they arrived at Su Lei's residence and found out that Night Sorrow had come, Su Lei invited them in. When they entered Su Lei's living room, Night Sorrow immediately saw Su Lei, who was extremely weak. You were injured by Lin Dongqing? When Night Sorrow saw Su Lei, he immediately asked. Yes. If I have the chance in the future, I will definitely tear him into pieces. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Su Lei immediately said resentfully. Then, he told her everything that had happened that day. At that time, she was met by Lin Dongqing and was easily defeated. Lin Dongqing immediately had the intention to molest her. In a situation where Su Lei was powerless to resist. The two elders of her organization in her space cave were forced to act. In the end, although these two elders suppressed Lin Dongqing, they were defeated by the expert summoned by Lin Dongqing in the end. When they were about to be killed, the two of them tried their best to send Su Lei out of the battlefield of the killer heaven, which allowed him to survive. In the process of describing, Su Lei did not reveal the identities of the two elders of the organization. He only said that they were experts sent by his family to protect him. After listening to him, Night Sorrow immediately said, if I have the chance, I will also kill him. Lin Dongqing is our common enemy. But this time, I have something to ask of you. What is it? Although I lost the bet to you, in my current state, it should be very difficult for me to recover quickly. I'm afraid I can't help much. Su Lei said helplessly. She was still respectful towards Night Sorrow. After all, Night Sorrow had defeated him fair and square. And he did not ask her to do anything overboard. At this time, when he needed help, he was more polite. It's like this. A few days ago, I went to see Dragon City. After Su Lei finished speaking, Night Sorrow told her about what happened in Sea Dragon City. He did not mention Little 8 for the time being. He also said that the Sea Dragon City Lord would help heal her injuries. Hearing that there was someone who could quickly heal her injuries, Su Lei did not hesitate at all and immediately agreed, okay. I'll go with you. Very good. Then we'll set off immediately. After Yi Shang finished listening to Su Lei, he kept all of them into his own space grotto heaven and quickly returned to Sea Dragon City. After arriving at Sea Dragon City, Night Sorrow handed Su Lei to the Sea Dragon City Lord for help in treating her. He brought Dancing Woman and the others to meet Yunyi and Xian Nian. Then, he told Yunyi and Xian Nian his purpose. What? The purpose of your trip is to snatch the Eternal Devil Tower? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yunyi immediately said in shock. He knew that the Eternal Devil Tower was exchanged for by the Sea Dragon King with a lot of resources. Snatching it rashly would definitely cause a huge disturbance. Chapter 3192. It's like this. I have the 7th and 9th floors of the Eternal Devil Tower. If I combine them, they will become a very powerful auxiliary divine tool. Therefore, I must obtain the 8th floor. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Yunyi and Xian Nian. He felt that the two of them would not target him. As for the others, they were basically a community of interests, so he did not have much confidence in them. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yunyi transmitted his voice, I see. If I had the 7th and 9th floors, I would also be interested in them. Is your purpose in coming to see Dragon City the 8th floor of the Eternal Devil Tower? Yes. The reason I came here is the 8th floor of the Eternal Devil Tower. Knight Sorrow's words were equivalent to half a sentence. The other half was that although he came here for the 8th floor, his relationship with Yun Yi and Xian Nian was real. Although he did not say it out loud, Yun Yi naturally understood. He smiled and said, "I will help you." Xian Nian also smiled and said, "You have saved me twice. Not to mention this matter, even if you want to die, Xian Nian will not refuse." "Thank you, brothers. Let's return to the encampment and cultivate. We will gather again when the time comes." Knight Sorrow received their support and immediately prepared to return to the barracks to cultivate. At this time, Yun Yi said, "Go. Before going to the Sea of Evil, you can cultivate in peace. Xian Nian and I will take care of Bai Mei and the War Demon." "Okay. Then I will have to trouble you two brothers." Knight Sorrow received Yun Yi and Xian Nian's assurance and immediately felt relieved. At the same time, he began to think about whether he should purify the two of them in the future or continue to live together like this. This thought made him feel somewhat conflicted. After thinking for a while, he still could not come up with an answer. After all, after purifying the two of them, they might not be the people in front of him anymore. The nature of his friends might change. "Everyone, you have already met the City Lord. As long as you defeat the Sea Dragon in the Sea of Evil, you will receive a good reward. This reward is a waste if we do not earn it. There is no reason for us not to earn it." Knight Sorrow stopped here and continued, "You can cultivate for a while. Later, I will bring you to the outside world to find the Sea Dragon and fight it first. Let everyone know more about the evil Sea Dragon. I feel that you should focus on your cultivation. We can walk around the area as we wish. After all, we haven't left the academy for a long time." Hearing that Knight Sorrow wanted everyone to cultivate, Dancing Woman was a bit unwilling. She and Wu Hua both felt that it was not easy to come out, so they wanted to see the world. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow nodded and said, "That works too. But you have to be careful, Sea Dragon City is safe." However, once they left Sea Dragon City, they could encounter powerful sea dragons at any time. The 9 princes and 3 princesses of the Sea Dragon King were all very strong. Even Ao Lai, who was the weakest, could not be underestimated. "You must be careful. Don't worry. We all have our own life-saving methods. If something goes wrong, we'll escape immediately." After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Dancing Woman nodded in agreement. Her vertical eye looked even deeper than when she had just joined the Killer Heaven Academy. Yi Shang glanced at her, then at No Flower, and said, "I believe that none of us are weak. Then, I'll enter the state of cultivation. You cultivate in peace, I'll stand guard for you." After Dancing Woman and No Flower left, Yuan Tianlai stood guard for Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow entered the cultivation room and transmitted his voice to the restriction-breaking hammer, saying, "How long more until the copybook is broken?" "Within a year, we'll definitely break the seal. Although our combat power did not increase after advancing to Sky Sovereign, our ability to break the seal has increased greatly." Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the restriction-breaking hammer's male hammer immediately responded. Very good. Then I'll study the 100-word mantra while waiting for you all." Knight Sorrow said, then took out the 100-word mantra and studied it diligently. There were still about 10 years before entering the Sea of Evil. He wanted to improve his strength as much as possible. In terms of realm, it was already very difficult for him to improve. He could only pin his hopes on the 100-word mantra and the copybook. Studying the 100-word mantra again, Knight Sorrow discovered that the word formula became more and more difficult to understand. After about 3 days, he only comprehended the 4th word formula. After that, it became more and more difficult. It was no longer the rhythm of learning one word formula every 4 hours like in the beginning. After about a few years, Knight Sorrow, who had not rested for a moment, successfully comprehended the 11th word formula. Just as he was studying the 12th word formula, the female hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer suddenly transmitted her voice, "The copybook is broken." "The seal is broken?" "Good, very good. Hearing the transmission, Night Sorrow immediately walked out of his cultivation state. He took the copybook with the seal broken. The copybook with the seal broken had a lot more words on it. Reading it together, it read, "If you comprehend my movement technique, you will be heaven-defying. Otherwise, you will be possessed by the devil." It was signed by Yen. So, there are a few words before and after it can be heaven-defying. Reading it together, you will be heaven-defying. Otherwise, you will be possessed by the devil. In other words, either you learn this movement technique or you will be possessed by the devil. Yi Shang saw the words before and after, "can defy the heavens," and instantly understood what this movement technique was all about. After thinking for a while, he said, "Entering the sea of evil and snatching the 8th level of the eternal divine tower is a matter of life and death. If you can learn this heaven-defying movement technique, the success rate will be much higher. I've decided to look down. Don't look at it casually to avoid being possessed by the devil." Anyway, after the two of us deciphered it, we didn't dare to look down after the first sentence. The restriction-breaking hammers said in unison. They didn't dare to learn the movement technique at all, so how would they dare to look down? Little 5, little 7, and little 9 were the same, so they didn't look at it either. After giving his instructions, Night Sorrow calmed down and looked down. There were no words below, only a portrait of a woman. The woman in the portrait had her eyes closed, but one could see that she had a devastatingly beautiful face. However, compared to the aura on her body, her appearance was not important at all. Although it was a portrait of a Supreme Realm expert, her aura was equally astonishing. That feeling was worlds apart from that of a Sky Supreme and a half-step to the Supreme Realm. It gave one the feeling of looking down on all living things. "Are you Senior Yen?" After Night Sorrow saw the portrait clearly, he suddenly had a feeling of worship in his heart. Without a doubt, the other party was the most legendary figure in the Eternal Supreme World. He was very respectful to such a sage. "Do you want to learn my movement technique?" While Night Sorrow was in awe, the woman in the portrait suddenly opened her eyes and said, "Yes." To this question, Night Sorrow answered without hesitation. "I didn't expect that the movement technique would be obtained by a junior from the Eternal Supreme World." After Night Sorrow spoke, Yen immediately sighed and said, "If I had known, I wouldn't have set it up." Chapter 3193. What did you set up on it? Hearing Yan's words, Night Sorrow immediately asked. He knew that since a legendary expert like Yen sighed, there must be a difficulty in front of him. After Night Sorrow finished asking, Yen replied, "Originally, I thought that if this book fell in the fog area, it would definitely be obtained by the cultivators in the fog area. Therefore, I set up the heart confusion curse on it. Those who want to learn the 9 steps of the heavens-defying technique will become a walking corpse without self-consciousness. At this moment, you have already begun to learn, which means that you are possessed by the heart confusion curse." What? Then is there any chance of breaking this heart confusion curse? Yi Shang asked in astonishment when he heard Yan's words. He had never thought that a legendary expert like Yen would set a trap in a book. If you learn all 9 moves of the 9 steps of the heavens-defying technique, you can break the heart confusion curse. But you are under the heart confusion curse and can't concentrate at all. You can't comprehend the 9 steps of the heavens-defying technique. This is a dead knot. On the book, Yan's shadow said helplessly. Then Senior Yen, are you unable to break it? Night Sorrow continued to ask. A legendary expert said that it was a dead knot, which made him a little worried. At this moment, he gradually felt that his mind was beginning to become chaotic, and the images of his family kept flashing in his mind. This made it impossible for him to concentrate at all. I only have some of her memories, and I don't have her abilities at all, and I'm about to die. Naturally, I can't break the heart confusion curse in you. If you want to get through this, you can only rely on yourself. Yan's shadow on the book said helplessly. She was just a projection, not a clone at all, and had no combat power. Hearing that the other party was about to disappear, Night Sorrow asked, "Senior, Is your real body still alive? If she is, where is she now? I can feel that she is still alive. But I can't sense where she is. After saying this, Yan's shadow disappeared without waiting for Night Sorrow's reaction. This heart confusion curse is really a headache. After it disappeared, Night Sorrow's emotions became more and more chaotic. His family and friends were not the only things that flashed through his mind. Scenes of some of the opponents he had killed flashed through his mind. These opponents were each more ferocious than the last. They looked like countless evil spirits demanding his life. It made him very uncomfortable. Night Sorrow, no matter how uncomfortable you are, you must try your best to concentrate and learn the 9 steps of the Defiant. Otherwise, you'll completely turn into a devil. In the grotto heaven, Little Seven immediately consoled Night Sorrow after seeing him being tortured by the mind-confusing curse. I'll do my best. You guys just need to wait and see. I don't have the energy to respond. Night Sorrow replied to Little Seven with difficulty and continued to look at Xiang Yan's copybook. He was clear that if he could comprehend it, he would reach the heavens in a single bound. If he couldn't fully comprehend the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps, he would be completely bedeviled and become a walking corpse. The first move of the 9 heaven-defying steps is actually very simple. After Xiang Yan's shadow disappeared, a faceless shadow appeared on the copybook and performed the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps. Although Night Sorrow couldn't concentrate, he quickly learned the first step. Then, the second and third steps were also quickly comprehended. After watching the shadow perform a set of steps, he successfully learned the 6th step. This made Night Sorrow very excited. He felt that with his comprehension, it shouldn't be difficult to fully comprehend the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps. He just needed to overcome the torture of the mind-confusing curse. However, after the shadow on the copybook finished performing the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps, Night Sorrow tried to recall and realized that he couldn't remember a single step. He had completely forgotten the 6 steps that he had just comprehended. What's going on? Could it be that the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps must be comprehended in one go? Otherwise, I'll forget it? Or is this the effect of the mind-confusing curse? Realizing that he couldn't remember a single step, Night Sorrow suddenly panicked. He thought to himself, is this really like what Xiang Yan's shadow said? It's a dead knot. After pondering for a moment, Night Sorrow immediately activated the power of merit to control the mind-confusing curse in his body. This power of merit was magical. It kept devouring the mind-confusing curse. However, as the power of merit devoured, the mind-confusing curse became more and more terrifying. Soon, the power of merit couldn't devour it anymore. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow tried his best to calm himself down. For the time being, he threw away all those tempting, invincible, bloody, and crazy images in his mind. Taking advantage of the short moment of clarity, he looked at the shadow on the copybook again. This time, Night Sorrow saw that the shadow had become fainter. He immediately understood that there was a limit to the number of times the shadow could be used. If the number of times was reached, it would disappear completely. At that time, he would definitely be powerless. Therefore, he must try his best to grasp the opportunity and comprehend all the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps. First step, second step, third step. This time, Night Sorrow concentrated almost all his energy but only comprehended 7 steps. Not long after, the memory of these few steps disappeared from Night Sorrow's mind again. It disappeared again. Why is it so difficult? After failing again, Night Sorrow sighed helplessly and continued to watch. After trying 7 times in a row, Night Sorrow had only managed to comprehend 8 steps on his first try. At that moment, the shadow on the copybook was becoming fainter and fainter, almost becoming transparent. This gave him a lot of pressure. It was a test of life and death. Night Demon. Are you cultivating? The city lord is here. He wants to ask if you can come out and meet him. However, just as Night Sorrow reached the most important juncture of his cultivation, Yen Tianlai, who was outside, suddenly spoke. It was the same for those who were cultivating. Suddenly, they felt their vision darken. He replied, I'm at the most important juncture of my cultivation. I can't see anyone now. Just as he replied, the shadow on the copybook turned completely transparent. He couldn't see it even if he activated the sea serpent's eye. Is the heavens trying to kill me? Night Sorrow sighed helplessly when he couldn't see the shadow on the copybook. The disappearance of the shadow on the copybook meant that he definitely couldn't learn the 9 steps of the defiant heavens from the copybook. The mind confusion curse couldn't be removed. Since it's not convenient for the night demon to see me, I'll go back. We'll talk about this next time. After Night Sorrow finished his reply, the Sea Dragon City Lord didn't get angry. He replied and prepared to leave. At that moment, Night Sorrow hurriedly walked out of the secret chamber and said, Sir City Lord, please wait. What's the matter? What's wrong with you? The Sea Dragon City Lord turned around and glanced at Night Sorrow. He immediately realized that something was wrong. I won't hide it from you, Sir City Lord. I've been hit by the mind confusion curse on a copybook. I'm afraid I'll be possessed soon. I'll become a walking corpse that can't be controlled by myself. Night Sorrow replied helplessly. Chapter 3194. Now that the phantom on the copybook had completely disappeared, it was absolutely impossible to comprehend the 9 steps of heaven defying through the copybook. And the mind confusion curse was set up by a legendary expert like Yen. Night Sorrow felt that his situation was not optimistic. Mind confusion curse? Hearing the words mind confusion curse, the Sea Dragon City Lord was stunned and fell into deep thought. City Lord, what's wrong with you? Seeing the Sea Dragon City Lord like this, Night Sorrow immediately asked. The Sea Dragon City Lord pondered for a while before saying, I've heard of this mind confusion curse before. It seems to involve someone close to me. Oh. Someone close to you? Are you sure? When Night Sorrow heard the Sea Dragon City Lord say this, he immediately guessed and thought to himself, could it be that this Sea Dragon City Lord and Senior Yen are old acquaintances? Yes, I'm very sure. The Sea Dragon City Lord looked at Night Sorrow and suddenly sent a voice transmission. I remember that she seems to be my master. Your master? Hearing the other party's voice transmission, Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. Yes. My master. In fact, I'm a divine weapon. After being in the fog for a long time, I've given birth to my own intelligence. The Sea Dragon City Lord said and asked, what's with that mind confusion curse of yours? How did you get it? It was a senior who left the 9 steps of heaven defying on the copybook, but set up the difficult problem of the mind confusion curse. If you can't learn the 9 steps of heaven defying, you won't be able to remove the mind confusion curse on you. This is a dead knot. And I waited until the phantom on the copybook disappeared, but I still didn't succeed in comprehending the 9 steps of heaven defying. Night Sorrow said helplessly. At this moment, his emotions were getting more and more chaotic. The scene in his mind was completely out of his control. It was so uncomfortable that he wanted to self-destruct. When the Sea Dragon City Lord heard this, he said excitedly, 9 steps of heaven defying. Yes, this is the movement technique that my master liked to use back then. The person who left the copybook is my master. Do you know who my master is? It's Senior Yen. If what the City Lord said is true, then your master is Senior Yen. Night Sorrow's mind was in a complete mess. It was very difficult for him to say these words. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon City Lord immediately came to a realization and recalled many things. He said, right. My master is Yen. I am the heaven-defying sword that she personally forged. My name is Heaven Defying. At this moment, Night Sorrow was completely speechless. He had been tortured beyond recognition by the mind confusion curse. At this time, the Sea Dragon City Lord, also known as the Heaven-Defying Sword, asked, will you be able to remove the mind confusion curse if you learn the Heaven-Defying 9 steps? Yes. Night Sorrow said with difficulty. At this moment, he couldn't even speak a complete sentence. Blood even began to seep out of his opened eyes, making him look extremely ferocious. That's good. Master comprehended the heaven-defying 9 steps from my sword scars. So can I. Watch carefully. The heaven-defying sword used the heaven-defying 9 steps outside the cultivation room. Seeing him use the 9 steps of the defiant heaven, although Night Sorrow was very uncomfortable, he still followed and learned. The first time, failure. The second time, it still didn't work. 4 or 5 times in a row, he comprehended the 8th step. At this time, the heaven-defying sword reminded, the heaven-defying 9 steps was researched from my sword scars. And the 9th step is an unconventional sword move. You have to bring your own into the sword to successfully comprehend and use it. In other words, you need to transform into a sword. Otherwise, you will definitely not be able to use it. So that's how it is. Unconventional sword move and transforming into a sword. Although Night Sorrow's mind was incomparably chaotic, hearing these 2 reminders, he immediately had an epiphany. When the heaven-defying sword used the heaven-defying 9 steps the next time, he immediately comprehended the 9th step. Heaven-defying 9 steps. Then, he shouted loudly and began to use it outside the cultivation room. The first 8 steps were used in human form and the last move was to transform into a sword. It was successfully used. As Night Sorrow fully executed the heaven-defying 9 steps, the mind confusion curse that was suppressing him also disappeared. Night Sorrow thanks the heaven-defying City Lord. Successfully dispelling the mind confusion curse, Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his thanks to the heaven-defying sword. For the other party to be able to execute the heaven-defying 9 steps, it was undoubtedly Yan's divine weapon. He was still very respectful to it and was not prepared to use a fake name to communicate in the future. It should be me thanking you. I, the heaven-defying sword, have been silent in Sea Dragon City for millions of years, but I don't know who I am. Now that I got your hint, not only do I remember my name, I also remember who my master is. This is a great thing for me. The heaven-defying sword said excitedly and then said, in the future, don't call me City Lord anymore. Call me Senior Heaven-Defying. Do you know the whereabouts of my master, Yen? No one in the world knows the whereabouts of Senior Yen. But I know that she is still alive and should be coming into being soon. After all, the fog area will launch an attack on the Eternal Supreme World again several thousand years later. At that time, she will definitely come out to turn the tide. Night Sorrow said all the things that he knew. Hearing this, the heaven-defying sword said excitedly, I remember now. In the last great calamity, I was left here and fell to Heavenly Supreme Grade because my master was fighting with 2 Supreme Realm experts. In the end, she was no match for them and could only escape helplessly. After that, the heaven-defying sword continued, you said that the great calamity will come here in a few thousand years. Are you sure about this matter? Yes. This is something that many people in the fog area know. There is not much time left for the Eternal Supreme World. Night Sorrow said with certainty. When the heaven-defying sword heard this, he thought for a moment and said, then I have to quickly recover my strength. This time, I have something to do in the Sea of Evil. Something to do? Senior Heaven-Defying Sword, what do you mean? Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. He heard the other party's words. To tell you the truth, in recent years, I have been in contact with the Sea Dragon King of the Sea of Evil because I am plotting to obtain the Sea Calming Divine Iron in the Sea of Evil. If the Sea Calming Divine Iron is devoured by me, then my grade can be restored to half-step to Supreme Realm. The improvement is huge. The heaven-defying sword said to Night Sorrow. So this is the reason why the Sea Dragon City is in contact with the Sea of Evil. Hearing this, Night Sorrow suddenly understood something. Thinking of this, he felt that it was not important for the Sea Dragon City Master to find so many experts. You are right. If I am not clear about my identity and the impending great calamity, I will definitely be the same as before. I will only care about the sparring with the Sea Dragon. But this time, I am prepared to attack the sea-calming divine iron. The so-called sparring no longer matters. At this point, the heaven-defying sword looked at Night Sorrow and said, "This time, the sea of evil will definitely be turned upside down by me. At that time, danger will be everywhere. You and your friends can choose not to go." Chapter 3195. Senior Heaven Defying, no matter how chaotic the sea of evil is this time, I will go. Night Sorrow said slowly, "To be honest, my goal is the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. This time, I want to take advantage of the chaos to get it." "Oh. I see. After going to the Sea of Evil, if there is a chance, I will help you get it." Heaven Defying said and continued, "That's right. As someone from the Eternal Supreme Realm, how did you manage to hide in the foggy area unscathed?" Night Sorrow has merit power on him, he can resist and purify the fog. Night Sorrow did not hide this matter and said directly. Hearing this, Heaven Defying said, "I have been in the fog for so many years and have been seriously corroded by the fog. After the formation of the Sea of Evil is over, can you help me purify the fog? I can't let my master fight alone." "Good. Night Sorrow will definitely help Senior Heaven Defying." Night Sorrow nodded and said. To him, Heaven Defying is willing to return to the Eternal Supreme World. That is a great thing, he is naturally willing to help. Very good. Next, we will plan the trip to the Sea of Evil. At that time, I will let Yun Yi and Xian Nian help you. Heaven Defying said and continued, "Originally, I came to find you this time because I have something to say. But now, there is no need for that. Senior Heaven Defying, do you have a map of the Sea of Evil? If you have a map, we can plan early." Night Sorrow felt that to plan before taking action, he must know himself and the enemy. "I have a map, but it is drawn based on some of my memories. It is not very comprehensive. After all, with my identity, it is not suitable for me to travel in the Sea of Evil." Heaven Defying took out a simple map and handed it to Night Sorrow. The Sea of Evil has always been a forbidden area for cultivators, so the map is not very detailed. Looking at the map, Night Sorrow said, "To be honest, this map is not very useful. It is not of much help to our plan. I have an idea. That is to choose some reliable people to enter the Sea of Evil and secretly set up some teleportation arrays. When we reach the Sea Dragon Imperial City, we will set up some more. Once we get what we want, we can activate the teleportation portal and teleport out." "Oh. Why don't you set up a teleportation array from Sea Dragon Imperial City to Sea Dragon City?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Sea Dragon City Lord asked with some puzzlement. Sea Dragon Imperial City was not too far away from Sea Dragon City. It was safe to build a teleportation array. "I feel that after the war starts, Sea Dragon Imperial City will most likely activate a large formation to block the use of the teleportation formation. Therefore, most of the teleportation arrays set up in the Imperial City were not useful. Therefore, they needed to set up more traps in the periphery. This is probably the principle of a crafty rabbit having 3 burrows." Night Sorrow explained his reasons. He felt that since he was going to do this, he should be more prepared. "Yes. That makes sense. In that case, I think we can set up a teleportation formation in the Sea of Evil to other areas. Now that I've obtained the item, I don't have to return to Sea Dragon City." Heaven Defying felt that what Night Sorrow said made sense. He simply prepared to teleport to other areas and not give the Sea Dragon King a chance to chase after them. Hearing this, Night Sorrow fell silent. He knew that if he made such a choice, the Sea Dragon City on the surface would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. "Are you worried about the cultivators of Sea Dragon City? They are all people from the fog area. Isn't it better to be slaughtered? What's there to worry about?" Seeing Night Sorrow fall silent, Heaven Defying immediately realized what was going on with him. From the standpoint of the Eternal Supreme World, it is indeed a good thing for them to be slaughtered. But they were slaughtered because of us. This matter makes me feel a little apologetic. Night Sorrow said. This went against his Tao heart. How about this? I will leave a clone in Sea Dragon City. When we head to the Sea of Evil, we will take everyone into the Space Grotto Heaven. Take them away. Let Sea Dragon City become an empty city. After listening to Night Sorrow, Heaven Defying thought for a moment and said, That's good too. Night Sorrow nodded and then transmitted his voice to Heaven Defying. Senior Heaven Defying, after reaching the Sea of Evil, you will definitely face the Sea Dragon King. I wonder if you know the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique? Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique? That seems to be Master's ultimate skill. I don't know it. Heaven Defying replied truthfully. I will teach you. This Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique is very useful against dragons. Night Sorrow recalled his previous battle. At that time, he used the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique and summoned a huge Kuan Pang and easily defeated his opponent. With that, he led Heaven Defying into the cultivation room and taught him the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. Very good. After learning this Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, I should not be at a disadvantage when fighting the Sea Dragon King. The only problem now is that there are too few of us left. We are far inferior to the Sea Dragon of the Sea of Evil. Therefore, we have to end the battle quickly. After we succeed, we will immediately escape. After obtaining the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, Heaven Defying did not have Night Sorrow's comprehension ability and did not immediately master it. But he is confident that he can master it in the next 10 years. After he finished speaking, Night Sorrow continued, after we get the item, Senior Heaven Defying can take everyone in and use Heaven Defying 9 steps to escape. Find the teleportation array and leave directly. But for now, we still need to find some people to go to the Sea of Evil and make arrangements in advance. Yes. But there are definitely spies of the Sea Dragons in the Sea Dragon City. It won't be easy to keep this a secret. Tian and I said and then asked, do you and your friends have the confidence to complete this matter? We can only say that we will do our best because we don't know what the situation is over there. Night Sorrow said truthfully. Then you and your friends, Yun Yi and Xian Nian, go together. Try to set up some teleportation arrays at the edge of the Sea of Evil. And check if it is possible to go to the depths of the Sea of Evil. If it is safe, set up some teleportation arrays. Heaven Defying said and explained, as for me, if I enter rashly, I will be discovered by the Sea Dragon King. That will affect the overall situation. All right. Leave this matter to me. But first, we have to set up a few teleportation arrays in the secret area of the Sea Dragon City. If we encounter a strong enemy in the Sea of Evil, we can use the teleportation arrays to escape. Night Sorrow said slowly. All right. Follow me to the City Lord's secret room. Just nice, you can take some useful resources from there. The Heaven Defying bead said and led Yi Shang to his secret chamber. This secret chamber was not only his cultivation room, but also his treasure trove. All the resources that he had accumulated over the years are all inside. After entering the secret room, Heaven Defying looked at Night Sorrow and said, take whatever you need. Chapter 3196. Collect as I wish. Then Night Sorrow won't be courteous. Setting up the teleportation array indeed requires a lot of materials. In addition, I want to set up some array formations at the location of the teleportation array. This all requires materials. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he collected all kinds of materials in the secret room. At this time, Tian and I said, don't just collect materials. In the secret room, there are also resources that can be used for cultivation, as well as blackthorn crystals, talismans, etc. Collect whatever you need. After you are done collecting, I will keep these things in my space. After all, I probably won't return to Sea Dragon City in the future. All right. I won't be courteous with the things I need. Night Sorrow did not stand on ceremony with Tian and I. Both sides exchanged to learn Tian and I 9 steps and Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. Compared to these two absolute arts, the resources in front of him were nothing. After spending about 4 hours, Night Sorrow collected all the resources he needed. He found Tian and I and said, "Senior Tian and I have collected all the resources I need. Next, I can start setting up the teleportation array." "All right. No one can enter here. You can set it up as you wish." Tian and I nodded. At this time, although he had been in human form, his body still had the sharpness of a sword. "All right. In addition, I will set up an array formation around the teleportation array." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he set up the teleportation array in the secret room. After finishing, he set up a 5-bowl array around it. After the array was set up, Night Sorrow looked at Tian and I and said, "Senior Tian and I, what needs to be set up has been completed. Next, I will go to the Sea of Evil with my friends. You can cultivate the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in peace. Go. Take this jade pendant. If you encounter an irresistible danger, crush it and I will immediately appear." Tian and I took out a white jade pendant and handed it to Night Sorrow. Receiving the cold jade pendant, Night Sorrow said, "I will try my best to be careful. Unless it is a last resort, I will not crush it. Go." Tian and I did not say anything else and let Night Sorrow leave with a sentence. He cultivated the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in the secret room. This absolute art was definitely a trump card against the Sea Dragon King. He had to learn it. However, the heaven-defying bead was, after all, a divine weapon that had gained sentience. Its comprehension ability was not as high as Night Sorrow's, so its progress was slower. While Tian and I was learning the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, Night Sorrow gathered Whirling Lady, Su Lei, No Flower, and Ape Tian Lai. "I finally have something to do." After Night Sorrow explained the purpose of his trip, Dancing Woman revealed a smile on her face. During these days in Sea Dragon City, she felt extremely bored and suffocated. "Everyone, be careful. The sea dragons of the evil sea are extremely powerful. We should not attack them unless we have no other choice." While flying towards the Sea of Evil, he said to Su Lei, "How are your injuries?" Su Lei had the bloodline of Yu Jia and was very talented in battle. He should be even more powerful than Dancing Woman and could be considered a very powerful helper. "I've almost fully recovered. I should be able to fight against ordinary Middle Heavenly Sovereigns." After a period of interaction, Su Lei was no longer so repulsed by Night Sorrow, so he replied. However, the tone of her voice was still the same as before, and it didn't sound very friendly. "Very good. If we encounter a sea dragon and can't avoid it, we must kill it quickly. We must kill him as soon as possible. We can't expose ourselves," Yi Shang added. He then glanced at the others and said, "If we can get this done quietly, our journey to the Ocean of Evil will be very smooth. After it's over, I will not mistreat everyone. You don't have to be so courteous. Since we have already arrived here, we will not be calculative about the reward." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Whirling Lady replied, "You just need to remember that you owe us a favor this time." "Everyone, I will not forget this favor. Don't worry." After Night Sorrow said this, he reminded everyone, "We are already very close to the Sea of Evil. Let's lower our flying altitude and sneak in quietly." "Okay. I will scout the way." After Whirling Lady finished speaking, she opened the vertical eye on her forehead and observed the Sea of Evil in front of them. She was looking for a way to enter the Sea of Evil for everyone. Night Sorrow said, "I will be on guard. If I find any enemies, I will alert everyone immediately." After that, he opened the eye of the sea serpent and observed the surroundings. "We will try our best to suppress our auras." After Yen Tianlai said this, he suppressed his aura and became similar to that of an ordinary person. Although the others did not say anything, they did the same. They all knew that in the Sea of Evil, there was a Sea Dragon King that they could not fight against, as well as many other dangerous existences. No one dared to be careless. "Everyone, follow me. I have found a good route." Whirling Lady, who was holding a map, said as she looked at the situation in the sea. Let's go. The others immediately followed her into the Sea of Evil. As soon as they entered the Sea of Evil, they felt an evil aura rushing towards them. This aura contained an extremely crazy and bloodthirsty aura. Although they had lived in the foggy area for a long time, they were still not used to it. Whirling Lady frowned and said, if we stay in this environment for a long time, we will definitely be affected by this aura and our minds will become extremely violent. That will be detrimental to our cultivation. We must speed up our operation this time. Yes. We can't stay here for long. Let's end this quickly. No Flower also said very uncomfortably. The others' expressions were also very solemn. Although the aura of the foggy area could also make people crazy, there was a limit. The Sea of Evil was completely different. It would make people lose control. Let's get as close to Sea Dragon Imperial City as possible and set up a few teleportation arrays around it. Then we can leave. At this moment, Night Sorrow explained and continued, let's hurry up and move forward. In fact, he was not afraid of this evil aura because he had the power of merit in his body. However, he could not use the power of merit to help anyone other than Yen Tianlai. Attention! 10,000 miles ahead, there is a sea dragon undergoing tribulation. We must avoid it immediately. As soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking, Whirling Lady, who had been observing the front, reminded him. In front of them was a sea dragon who had just advanced to Sky Supreme and was undergoing tribulation. His strength was definitely weaker than Night Sorrow and the others. If they went forward, it was very likely that they would be able to kill the other party instantly. However, a sea dragon's tribulation would cause a lot of commotion and might alarm other sea dragons. Therefore, they had to leave this place immediately. Not good. There are many sea dragons rushing over nearby. We have to hide on the spot or we will definitely be exposed. At this moment, Night Sorrow reminded them silently. He realized that the commotion caused by the sea dragon's tribulation had indeed attracted many sea dragons. If they did not leave and hide, they would definitely be discovered. Chapter 3197. Where can we hide at such a close distance? No Flower asked. For cultivators, they could be discovered at any time from thousands of miles away. It would be very difficult to hide. Everyone, don't panic. Follow me to the bottom of the sea. I will set up a concealment array. It should be able to last for a while. After Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to everyone, he took the lead and flew to the bottom of the sea. After reaching the bottom, he set up a concealment array. This kind of concealment array was not enough for ordinary heavenly sovereigns to see through. If someone looked carefully, they would definitely be exposed. But at this time, the sea dragon and the other creatures of the Sea of Evil should be focused on the sea dragon. He felt that it would not be so easy to be discovered. This array can't even hide from my detection. Is it safe? Because the concealment array was not perfect, Dancing Lady immediately questioned. The array's quality is limited, but we have no other choice now. Everyone, hide your aura and wait here in peace. It's best if we are not discovered. If we are discovered, we will be killed immediately. Our infiltration into the Sea of Evil must not be exposed. Otherwise, it will affect the overall situation. For now, this is the only way. Dancing Lady had no other choice. She could only hide her aura and hide in the array with Night Sorrow and the others. However, she was different from the others. Her eyes were very special. Without releasing the power of her divine soul, she could still detect the surroundings. Together with Night Sorrow, she alerted everyone. In the next hour, everyone waited quietly in the array. Loud rumbling sounds came from outside. Obviously, there was a battle. Why are the people outside fighting? Aren't they all from the Sea of Evil? Yen Tianlai, who could not see outside, asked curiously. The cultivators outside are besieging the sea dragon. At this point in the battle, the sea dragon has been killed, and even its flesh and blood have been absorbed. The competition in the Sea of Evil is far more intense than we imagined. The aura of the Sea of Evil really drives people crazy. They even want to kill their own kind. Hearing Knight Sorrow's description, Yen Tianlai frowned. Dancing Lady smiled disdainfully and said, "Isn't it the same in the foggy area? Plundering resources is the purest law of survival." That is indeed the case. Where there are cultivators, there will be fighting. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, he waited for about 2 hours and said, "The storm outside has already passed, let's go out and continue." He was lucky that he wasn't discovered this time. We'll have to be more careful next time. Don't worry. The matter before their eyes was already a wake-up call for everyone. No one will continue to be careless. After she finished speaking, she continued to lead the way. Knight Sorrow chose to bring up the rear. Under the guidance of the two of them, the team kept getting closer to the center of the Sea of Evil. After traveling for about a day, Knight Sorrow suddenly said, "Everyone, wait." The corals in this area were very dense. It was the perfect place to set up a teleportation formation. I'll go make some arrangements. Good. We will protect you. Whirling Woman, who was constantly observing the surroundings, responded immediately. Wu Hua and Yen Tianlai also looked over. As for Su Lei, he was a little cold and arrogant. He didn't talk much with the others. This is the first time I've seen pure black corals. The corals in the Sea of Evil were dozens of times taller than the corals in the ordinary sea. After entering, Knight Sorrow felt as if he had walked into a huge maze. After observing the surroundings, he couldn't help but sigh. The corals in front of him were too magnificent, but because they were black, they looked a little strange. Knight Sorrow. I feel that this place is a little strange. But I can't tell what's going on. Just as Knight Sorrow was choosing a location to set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer suddenly reminded him. Is it a little strange? Let me take a closer look. The reminders from the restriction-breaking hammer and the various parts of the Eternal Divine Tower were not groundless. After Knight Sorrow responded, he used the sea serpent's eye and the power of his godly soul to investigate the surroundings. After doing so, he suddenly felt his scalp tingle. It turned out that in every coral, there was a kind of disgusting black leech. These leeches were basically at the level of a lower heavenly supreme, and their numbers were terrifying. If not 10 million, there were at least 8 million. We can't set up a formation here. Let's leave immediately. After discovering these black leeches, Knight Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to everyone, asking them to leave together. You came to our territory and still want to escape. Let me tell you, all the cultivators who dare to approach here have become blood food. Just as Knight Sorrow and the others were about to quickly leave the coral, a cold voice suddenly sounded from the coral. Following that, the cold voice sounded. The black leeches hidden in the coral swarmed out in tens of thousands. Why are there leeches in the sea? And there are so many of them. Seeing millions of leeches appear, Wu Hua roared with a headache. Swaying Lady said worriedly, with such a big formation, we will definitely be exposed. To them, fighting was not the most terrifying thing. Alarming the sea dragon was the most terrifying thing. Su Lei, who had not spoken much, said coldly, we won't be exposed. The voice just now has already said it clearly. Cultivators who dare to approach here will basically become blood food. Therefore, under normal circumstances, no cultivators will approach. If we can kill the leech army in front of us, we can be considered to have a base. Yes. That should be the case. Let's attack together and get rid of these leeches. Their individual strength is not strong, but they have the advantage in numbers. We can't be careless. Knight Sorrow agreed and took out the golden heavenly halberd that had been dyed black. He directly attacked the leech army with Raging Flames Demon, wanting to use the flames to burn these leeches to death. As for the seawater of the Sea of Evil, it was unable to extinguish the flames. Hee hee, you want to destroy my leech army with such flames? What a joke. At this moment, the cold voice sounded again. Along with his laughter, everyone immediately felt a strong sense of oppression. At this moment, Su Lei judged, the owner of this voice is at least a middle heavenly supreme, and his strength is not weak. Not only do we have to deal with the leeches, but we also have to be wary of his sneak attacks. She could not determine where the owner of this voice was hiding. Therefore, she reminded them. At this moment, Night Sorrow suddenly said, "You guys deal with the leeches together. I will fight the owner of this voice. There shouldn't be any sea dragon nearby that likes to come close. Everyone can use your secret techniques to your heart's content." When the voice spoke again, he immediately found its location. Chapter 3198. As long as you restrain them, it shouldn't be too difficult for us to deal with the leeches. Whirling Lady roared at Night Sorrow. Then, she immediately used the 1,000 illusion eyes. She summoned all the small eyes in the vertical eye and placed them in the sea. These eyeballs were similar to black holes, but in the pitch-black sea, they still had a sense of existence. When they were summoned, these black holes released rays of light. They blasted towards the incoming leech army. Good move. Su Lei, who was at the side, saw Whirling Lady use the 1,000 illusion eyes and praised. Then, it let out a clear and melodious cry. Then, it spat out a large amount of Yujia flames, illuminating the area they were in. This kind of momentum was extremely exaggerated in the Sea of Evil. However, none of the sea dragons that discovered the battle here came close. Obviously, the leech army and its master had caused a lot of trouble for the sea dragons in the past. They usually avoided this area when they were active. We can't just let the women fight. Let's go too. Whirling Lady and Su Lei attacked the leech army one after another. Yuan Tianlai roared and released his divine domain, rushing towards the leeches. After he attacked, Wu Hua also used his methods to attack. While the four of them were fighting with the leech army, Night Sorrow had already dug out the leech's master. After this person appeared, Night Sorrow discovered that the other party was indeed a middle heavenly supreme cultivator. At this moment, this person had transformed into a male cultivator. His face was sinister and gave off an evil and awe-inspiring feeling. Night Sorrow opened the sea dragon's eye and observed, but he couldn't see through his true form. He wasn't sure what this person's true form was, but he guessed that it was definitely some kind of evil creature. Why? Do you want to know who I am? Seeing Night Sorrow sizing him up, the leech's master revealed a sinister smile. The divine domain on his body also bloomed. I'm a little curious. How can you control the Sea of Evil alone and not be punished by the Sea Dragon King? Could it be that you are his subordinate? Night Sorrow could sense that the group didn't feel much pressure dealing with the leech army. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry to attack and started to talk with the other party. He was sure that no sea dragon dared to approach, and it was definitely because of this cultivator in front of him. If there were no accidents, the other party would definitely hunt sea dragons on a daily basis. He didn't understand why the Sea Dragon King didn't kill an existence that was hunting sea dragons in the Sea of Evil. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the leech master sneered, "The sea dragons of the evil sea also want to know the answer to your question. But none of them could get the answer without dying. The few of you will be like the sea dragon that was killed. The moment before you are killed, you will get the answer to your question. Die." At this point, the leech master, who had transformed into a male cultivator, suddenly struck out a palm towards Night Sorrow. His attack was different from that of an ordinary cultivator. His arm extended infinitely, reaching straight for Night Sorrow's head and slamming down. This action seemed complicated, but his speed was extremely fast. By the time Night Sorrow reacted, his opponent's palm was already on top of his head. So fast. Not only was Night Sorrow surprised by this attack, but Little Seven, who was in the space grotto heaven, was also in disbelief. This was because the opponent's attack was actually faster than the light of an ordinary sky sovereign. It is indeed very fast. If it was me in the past, I wouldn't be able to dodge it at all. At this moment, Knight Sorrow was responding to Little Seven as he suddenly executed the first step of the 9 defiant steps. He successfully dodged this attack. The Leech Master's attack directly hit the bottom of the sea. Boom! This palm was extremely powerful, and when it hit the bottom of the sea, it immediately caused the surrounding 10,000 miles to tremble. Your movement technique is unexpectedly good. The Leech Master was in disbelief that Knight Sorrow had dodged his attack. Then, he threatened coldly, "I will give you a chance. If you teach me your complete movement technique, I will spare your life. I can spare your lives and treat it as if nothing happened today. Even if I teach it to you, you won't be able to learn it." Knight Sorrow looked at him coldly. Yan's movement technique was the precious treasure of the eternal supreme world. Naturally, he couldn't teach it to an evil creature. Is that so? Then I'll devour you and take everything you have for myself. The Leech Master saw Knight Sorrow's attitude of rejection and launched another fierce attack. This time, he threw a punch at Knight Sorrow. When the fist was close, Knight Sorrow executed the first move of the 9 defiant steps again and successfully dodged it. However, just as Knight Sorrow dodged, he saw a huge mouth suddenly open where the opponent's fist was. In this round mouth, there were almost 1,000 sharp teeth. The key was, after it opened its mouth, thousands of sharp teeth shot out. Every tooth turned into a sharp sword at this moment. After shooting out these teeth, the Leech Master sneered, "Let's see how you dodge this time. Looks like I need to execute all the moves of the 9 defiant steps to dodge it. The few of them are still in good condition. I just need to restrain the opponent in front of me." At this moment, Knight Sorrow observed that the other 4 people had an obvious advantage in the battle against the Leech army. He immediately decided to continue the battle with the Leech Master in front of him. After thinking for a while, he directly executed the pure 9 defiant steps. Under the attack of thousands of sharp teeth, he was like a butterfly flitting through flowers, constantly dodging. You can even dodge such an attack. This movement technique is simply heaven-defying. I must learn it. Seeing that Knight Sorrow could dodge the thousands of sharp teeth attacks so easily, the Leech Master immediately became excited. In his life, he had never seen such a mysterious movement technique. His desire to take it for himself was even stronger. You want to learn it? You'd better defeat me first. In the moment when the Leech Master was distracted, Knight Sorrow immediately executed the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. This dragon subduing technique could unleash almost 3 times the effect when fighting dragons. But it could also be used in normal battles. Knight Sorrow felt that against the opponent in front of him, his Qingxian Godly Spear technique should not be of much use. This time, when he executed the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, Knight Sorrow was a little surprised. Because the last time he executed it, a huge Kuan Peng appeared. After the Kuan Peng appeared, it directly subdued his opponent. And this time, when he executed it again, a huge Kuan Peng appeared. This Kuan Peng looked a little like a whale, but it was much bigger. After it appeared, it immediately opened its mouth and tried to swallow the Leech Master. What kind of move is this? You ant, you have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. But all these are futile. Seeing the huge Kuan Peng opening its mouth and trying to swallow him, the Leech Master roared and immediately transformed into his original form. Chapter 3199. So you are also a sea dragon. However, you are a little different from other sea dragons. You are an anomaly. After the Leech Master transformed into his true form, Knight Sorrow discovered that he was a sea dragon. However, he looked a little deformed and looked like the product of a sea dragon and a leech. Although there was a dragon head, the lower half of his body looked like a leech. You are the anomaly. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the deformed sea dragon immediately flew into a rage. He wanted to destroy the Kuan that Night Sorrow had summoned with a swing of his tail. However, he did not expect that the Kuan that had opened its mouth would actually bite off his tail. After his tail was bitten off, he immediately let out a loud roar. He was completely enraged. At the same time, the leeches that were fighting against Hasa Lady and the others all turned into blood in an instant. The blood that they had turned into quickly gathered towards the deformed sea dragon. After absorbing the blood, the deformed sea dragon's tail quickly recovered. At this moment, he looked at Night Sorrow and said coldly, "Didn't you want to know why the Sea Dragon King didn't kill me? Let me tell you, I am also the son of the Sea Dragon King. My name is Ao Shui. All of you, die." After Ao Shui roared, he immediately spat out a dark dragon breath at Night Sorrow. Awoo. At this moment, the Kuan that Night Sorrow had summoned moved again and swallowed the dragon breath. Moreover, it swallowed Ao Shui again. However, this Kuan had already started to blur and could not hold on for long. "Without this Kuan, you are nothing." Ao Shui, who was completely enraged, roared and began to fight with this Kuan. At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at the others and transmitted his voice, "Everyone, attack together and kill Ao Shui. If I'm not wrong, he must be a prince that the Sea Dragon King despises. No matter how big the commotion is, he will not ask the Sea Dragon King for help. That's right. The Sea Dragon King will definitely despise him, a prince that was born from a leech." After Hasa Lady finished speaking, she used all evil descends on Ao Shui. Su Lei transformed into Yu Jia and joined the battle. Their strength was basically not inferior to Night Sorrow's, and their battle prowess was extremely strong. As for the relatively weaker ape Tian Lai and No Flower, they were responsible for sneak attacks. While Night Sorrow and the others were keeping Ao Shui in check, they began to take advantage of the situation and launched continuous attacks. Although Ao Shui was a middle heavenly sovereign and was relatively strong, he was restrained by Kuan and besieged. Soon, he was forced into a passive position. While being besieged, he did not choose to call for help. Instead, he continued to burn his bloodline to increase his combat strength. Towards the end of the battle, he forcefully destroyed the Kuan summoned by Night Sorrow. However, he was also heavily injured by Night Sorrow and the others. At this time, after being struck by the dancing woman's evil descent, he began to feel more and more miserable. But even under such circumstances, he did not seek help from the Sea Dragon King. Obviously, it wasn't just the Sea Dragon King who hated him. He didn't like the Sea Dragon King's father either. "I'll kill him." After fighting for about an hour, Su Lei, who had transformed into Yu Jia, saw that the time was ripe. He roared and was ready to kill Ao Shui directly. At this time, Night Sorrow hurriedly sent a message, "Destroy his soul and keep his body. It's very useful." "Oh. Is that so?" After replying to Night Sorrow, Su Lei stopped and only destroyed Ao Shui's soul. After Ao Shui's soul was destroyed, Night Sorrow said, "We are too conspicuous in the sea of evil. I'm going to refine Ao Shui's body into a puppet and bring you all to the sea of evil." This is indeed a good idea. No matter what, Ao Shui is the son of the Sea Dragon King. Ordinary people will definitely not dare to provoke him. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the dancing woman immediately agreed. The others also felt that this was a good idea. After that, Night Sorrow took out the 9-dragon cauldron and threw Ao Shui's body into it. He used the most primitive method to refine a puppet. After this puppet was refined, it was similar to a divine artifact. Yi Shang used a sliver of his god's soul to successfully control it. Then, he controlled it to transform into a human form and put himself and the others into the space. After confirming that this was feasible, Night Sorrow immediately set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation on Ao Shui's body. After all this was done, he began to use Ao Shui's body to walk around the sea of evil. He set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation. This Ao Shui was a well-known figure in the sea of evil. Almost no one dared to provoke him. Therefore, their operation was very smooth. Once, Night Sorrow bumped into the 9th Prince Ao Lai, who he had defeated before. Originally, he thought that Ao Lai would discover something. Unexpectedly, after Ao Lai saw the puppet Ao Shui, he immediately fled with his subordinates. Obviously, he was also afraid of Ao Shui. Haha. After refining Ao Shui into a puppet, we will be able to enter the Sea of Evil as if there is no one there. After setting up several 5-bull formations and the teleportation formation, the dancing woman said in a good mood. Even she was a little afraid of the absolute emperor of the Sea of Evil, the Sea Dragon King. After having Ao Shui as a puppet, everything became simple. She also felt a lot more relaxed. The others also felt the same. They felt that their luck was not bad. Because using Ao Shui's body to walk around, they found that there were countless heavenly supreme sea dragons hiding around the Sea Dragon Imperial City. If they did not have Ao Shui as a shield, they would have been attacked by the group. Everyone. We have completed the task of setting up the teleportation formation. But I am going to draw a map of the Sea of Evil. I will take up a little more of your time. About a year later, Night Sorrow successfully set up 18 teleportation formations. He felt that it was about time. So, he led the group to continue to walk around the Sea of Evil and draw a map of the Sea of Evil. This map, except for the Sea Dragon Imperial City and the 2 bottomless trenches, had mapped out everything in the Sea of Evil. It was very strategic. After receiving the map, Heaven Defying exclaimed in admiration, "This map is well drawn. It is very valuable. The few of you have done well." After saying that, he took out some resources and distributed them to everyone one by one. These resources were nothing to the dancing woman and Su Lei. They were more relaxed. But to Yuan Tian Lai and No Flower, who did not have any background, it was definitely good stuff. They were more excited. After Tian and I distributed the resources, Night Sorrow asked, "Senior Tian and I, how is your learning of the Supreme Dragon subduing skill? Have you completely comprehended it?" "Sai, to tell you the truth, my talent is not very good. There are a few things that I can't figure out." Hearing this, Tian and I said helplessly. He was born from the heaven-defying sword and his comprehension was not very good. In the 2 years that Night Sorrow had left, he had not completely mastered the Supreme Dragon subduing skill. Chapter 3200. It's fine. Since Senior Heaven Defying has not mastered it, I will help Senior learn the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in the future. This move will erupt with unexpected power when dealing with dragons. I must learn it. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice. Now that he had obtained the puppet Sea Dragon Ao Shui, the chances of obtaining the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower had greatly increased. What he needed to consider was how to escape. If Heaven Defying could learn the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, he should be able to restrain the Sea Dragon King. To him, it was very beneficial. Hearing this, Heaven Defying sighed and said, "It's good to have your guidance. But as a senior, I still need a junior to guide me. It's a little embarrassing." Senior. There were different levels of knowledge and specialization in different fields. I learned the Supreme Dragon subduing technique before you. There's nothing embarrassing about you learning from me. Night Sorrow replied with a smile. He felt that this was not a big deal. All right. Heaven Defying replied to Night Sorrow and looked at the others. All of you, disperse and do your own things. Wait for the summons. All right. Everyone, including Whirling Woman, immediately chose to disperse. Among them, Yuan Tian Lai and Wu Hua used the remaining years to cultivate. After they left, Night Sorrow entered Heaven Defying's secret room and guided him in his cultivation. After a period of guidance, Night Sorrow discovered that Heaven Defying's problem was that he was too sharp and did not know how to be flexible. This should be a major drawback of sword-type gods. Therefore, in the process of guiding Heaven Defying to learn the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, Night Sorrow also constantly helped him perfect his fighting style. About 5 years later, Heaven Defying successfully learned the Supreme Dragon subduing technique and had greatly improved in terms of fighting. Before coming out of seclusion, Heaven Defying looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Sorrow, after learning your Supreme Dragon subduing technique and fighting techniques, my chances of winning in the Sea of Evil will at least increase by 30%. Thank you. Senior Heaven Defying, you're welcome. After all, our goals are similar." Night Sorrow said politely. He was determined to obtain the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. As for Heaven Defying's goal, it was the Sea Calming Divine Iron. Hearing this, Heaven Defying smiled and said, "Our goals are very different. When I attack the Sea Divine Iron, all the sea dragons in the Sea of Evil will be attracted to me. At that time, it will be very easy for you. When the time comes, if there is anything that I can help you with, Senior Yi Shang would definitely do his best. After all, your advancement is a great thing for the Eternal Paragon world." Before leaving the secret room, Heaven Defying, Heaven Defying, Heaven Defying, Heaven Defying Dragon. I hope that this time, I can at least recover to half a step into the limitless realm. Tian and I sighed and then said, 2 years later, we will set off on time. Go and prepare. Good. After Yi Shang finished speaking, he went to find Dancing Woman, Su Lei, and the others. After gathering everyone, he said, "Everyone, our most important goal in the Sea of Evil is the Eternal Devil Tower. Once we're done, I'll give all of the Killer Heaven Academy's points to everyone. Of course, if anyone wishes to withdraw, you can do so now. I've decided to go with you." Hearing this, Heaven Defying Dragon was satisfied. To them, the Heaven Defying Dragon's points were very important. None of them did not care. "I have no objections." Su Lei also spoke, but she wasn't sure if Yi Shang's words included her. She was very conflicted. On one hand, she had sworn loyalty to the organization. On the other hand, she had lost to Night Sorrow in a bet. She was very confused. After all, she used to be the Empress of a region. As for Wu Hua, he listened to Heaven Defying Dragon. Since she had decided to go, he had no reason to refuse. Yuan Tianlai was Night Sorrow's man, so he did not refuse either. Okay. Since everyone has decided to go, let's practice the formation. Yi Shang immediately said when he saw that everyone had agreed. Formation? What formation? Heaven Defying Dragon asked. The others also looked at Night Sorrow in confusion. Combined attack technique and formation array. In a battle, it would bring about unexpected results. When Brother Yun Yi and Brother Xian Nian arrive, we will begin. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he and the others waited for Yun Yi and Xian Nian. Not long after, the two of them arrived. Night Sorrow began to teach them the combined attack technique. After everyone had mastered the combined attack technique, he began to teach them the combined attack formation. Although there were only 7 of them, he was able to fight 1 against 3, so he was basically able to use a joint attack formation. After learning the combined attack formation, Yun Yi immediately exclaimed, "This combined attack formation is unheard of, but the effect is surprisingly good. It is indeed very powerful. The 7 of us, together with the Night Devil's puppet, can use the combined attack formation. I think we can compete with upper heavenly sovereigns. In the Sea of Evil, unless the Sea Dragon King attacks, we should not be threatened." Heaven Defying Dragon agreed. She found Yi Shan's joint attack array somewhat inconceivable. As a native of the foggy area, she had never seen such a formation. Since everyone thinks the combined attack formation is good, let's practice it while we still have time. After all, practice makes perfect. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he led everyone to practice for more than a year. When Tian and I summoned them and was ready to set off, their cooperation was already very good. After Tian and I gathered a few hundred people, he sent a message to the Sea Dragon King, asking him to send someone to pick up the Sea Dragon City's team. This was considered a respect to the Sea of Evil. While waiting for the messenger, Tian and I sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. After we reach the Sea of Evil, we will stay for some time. A few days ago. We will spar as usual. Usually, we will investigate the target. Wait for me to attract their attention, then you can make your move. Okay. Understood. Night Sorrow replied. After that, Tian and I told Night Sorrow something, and they followed the Sea Dragon King's messenger to the Sea of Evil. They flew above the Sea of Evil, and when they reached the Sea Dragon Imperial City, they entered the water together. When they entered the Sea Dragon Imperial City, the Sea Dragon King was already waiting with his group of princes and princesses. The Sea Dragon King, who was surrounded in the middle, looked similar to an emperor. While Tian and I, City Lord and Sea Dragon Emperor, were exchanging greetings. Ninth Prince Aolai's resentful gaze quickly locked onto Night Sorrow. He sent a voice transmission coldly, "I didn't expect you to come. There will definitely be a battle between us. How can a loser be brave?" Night Sorrow opened the Sea Dragon Eye and looked at Ninth Prince Aolai. At this time, Aolai's aura was much stronger, and it was obvious that his strength had increased. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, he was instantly enraged. Then he interrupted the conversation between Sea Dragon King and Tian and I, City Lord, pointed at Night Sorrow and said, "Father, I want to challenge that person." Chapter 3201. Impudent. I'm welcoming guests, how can you interrupt? Drag him down and behead him. Sea Dragon King, who was interrupted, immediately flew into a rage. At this moment, Tian and I smiled and said, "Dragon King, why bother with the juniors? If they want to challenge, we'll arrange it." After that, he tried to persuade the Sea Dragon King. In addition, the few princesses at the side also tried to persuade him. Sea Dragon King's gloomy face eased a little. He looked at Aolai and said, "This time, everyone will plead for you. I'll spare your life. If you don't know the rules next time, you'll be beheaded." "Father, I know my mistake." Aolai knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times in a row. Then, he said, "Father, please allow me to issue a challenge." After Aolai finished speaking, Sea Dragon King looked at Tian and I and said, "City Lord, what do you think? Since sparring is something that happens every time, it's good to come early. It can liven up the atmosphere." After Sea Dragon King said this, Tian and I immediately reacted. This was Sea Dragon King and the others singing a double act. They wanted the challenge to come directly. They didn't even want to lead everyone to tour Sea Dragon Imperial City and invite them to a banquet. However, he didn't refuse. Instead, he agreed. Good. City Lord is indeed a forthright person. Compared to the trade fair after the sparring, you will also take out something that is sincere enough. After Sea Dragon King finished speaking, he looked at Aolai and said, "Which one do you want to challenge? Point it out." When he said this, Sea Dragon King's aura immediately bloomed. It gave people an incomparably powerful feeling. Night Sorrow felt that he should have reached the peak of Upper Heavenly Sovereign and could enter the half-step extreme realm at any time. This kind of strength was stronger than Tian and I. "Father, the one I want to challenge is him." After getting permission, Aolai immediately pointed at Night Sorrow and said. Sea Dragon King saw that Night Sorrow's cultivation was only Middle Earthly Sovereign. He frowned and said, "Aolai, you've been arguing for so long just to challenge an Earthly Sovereign?" "Father, although he is an Earthly Sovereign, his actual combat strength is definitely at the Heavenly Sovereign level. Last time, I was defeated by him. This time, I want to take revenge." Aolai immediately explained when he saw the Sea Dragon King's expression darken. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King's expression recovered slightly. He snorted, "I'll give you a chance to challenge me. But if you lose to an Earth Sovereign, you will no longer be part of the Sea Dragon Imperial family. Understand?" "Yes, I understand." After being reprimanded by the Sea Dragon King, Aolai stood up and pointed at Night Sorrow. If you have the guts, come out and fight. In this battle, we will determine victory and defeat, as well as life and death. I've already said that you're a loser, and you have no chance of winning. Why must you seek your own death? Yi Shang naturally didn't feel the slightest bit of fear as he looked at Ao Lai. Even though Ao Lai's strength had increased significantly, he had already learned the Supreme Dragon subduing art. He would definitely be able to defeat him easily. However, at this moment, the heaven-defying beast transmitted a message: in battle, unless it is absolutely necessary, do not use the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. This is to prevent the Sea Dragon King from becoming vigilant. All right. With the heaven-defying beast's words, Night Sorrow felt that it made sense. He decided to give up on using the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. After speaking, he walked out of the crowd step by step. Don't worry, let's go to the battle arena. Seeing that Ao Lai and Night Sorrow were about to attack, the Sea Dragon King immediately spoke. Then, everyone headed to the battle arena. This battle arena was built for both sides to spar, and there were tens of thousands of spectator seats. At this moment, the spectator seats were already filled with shrimp soldiers and crab generals. This was exactly the same as before. You guys go up. There are no rules. If one side dies, the battle will end. Sweeping a glance at the packed spectator seats, the Sea Dragon King, who had just finished arranging the heaven-defying beast and the rest, spoke coldly. Yes, father. When Ao Lai heard this, he immediately flew up to the battle arena. Standing in the empty arena, he shouted at Night Sorrow, "Come up and accept your death. I'm here to take your life, loser." Night Sorrow had an obvious psychological advantage against Ao Lai. He knew that his simple words could infuriate the other party. Just as Yi Shang had expected, Ao Lai was immediately enraged. He roared, "Get over it. Roaming dragon." At the same time, he transformed into a sea dragon and attacked Night Sorrow. Roaming dragon? The name is not bad, but it's just a movement technique? Night Sorrow, who was observing Ao Lai with the sea dragon's eye, discovered that roaming dragon was a movement technique and was surprised. At this moment, the heaven-defying beast sent a voice transmission. This is the movement technique that the Sea Dragon King is famous for. It's not simple. This Ao Lai must have put in a lot of effort. Be careful. Don't worry, I'm fine. Hearing this, Night Sorrow replied with a smile. Then, he used the heaven-defying 9 steps to dodge Ao Lai's attack. The Sea Dragon King's roaming dragon was very mysterious. When Ao Lai used it, his movements were erratic and difficult to capture. However, Night Sorrow could use the Sea Dragon's eye to see through it and use the heaven-defying 9 steps to break it. After fighting for more than 10 breaths, Ao Lai did not touch Night Sorrow at all. Night Sorrow used the golden heavenly halberd to strike Ao Lai several times. This made Ao Lai, who wanted to save face, angrier and angrier the more he fought. He burned his bloodline and raised his strength to the strongest. He roared, "This time, you will die without a doubt." Then, in the void, he used another of the Sea Dragon King's famous ultimate moves. Dragon Roar of the 9 Heavens. This Dragon Roar of the 9 Heavens was an ultimate move that attacked the soul. When Ao Lai executed it, it immediately caused the entire martial arts arena to tremble. Using your blood essence to execute this move, you want to kill me instantly? When Ao Lai used this move, Night Sorrow immediately understood his intentions. He understood that Ao Lai wanted to determine the outcome in one move. He was surprised. He felt that Ao Lai was a little rash. At this moment, the heaven-defying beast reminded, "Hit the energy resistance, otherwise, you might be destroyed by this move." Oh. Is it that terrifying? Hearing the heaven-defying beast's voice transmission, Night Sorrow was more or less alert. He set up a divine essence trapping array and other defensive methods around him. He also activated the 33 Heavens Battle Mystic technique, activated the Green Phoenix battle armor, and burned his bloodline. He used the dragon roar and phoenix cry to resist this move. After Night Sorrow roared, the sound waves of the two roars collided violently. Buzz! In the martial arts arena, a loud noise suddenly erupted. After the collision, Night Sorrow and Aoi floated in the air. Neither of them fell. At this moment, Night Sorrow saw Aoi, whose aura was already very weak, take out a pill and consume it. After that, his aura instantly recovered. In a few breaths of time, he recovered to his peak state. He immediately realized that Aoi was using a powerful move to exhaust him. Then, he despicably used pills to recover. Chapter 3202. Be careful. What Aoi swallowed is a sea spirit pill refined from a sea spirit root. It's a spirit medicine unique to the Sea of Evil Imperial family and can quickly recover vitality. It's best if you can insta-kill him in one strike. Seeing Aoi consume the sea spirit pill, Yunyi immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow to remind him. I have an ultimate technique to insta-kill him, but it's not convenient to use it. That will make the Sea Dragon King vigilant and be disadvantageous to the city lord. Yi Shang replied to Yunyi and then started fighting with Aoi again. This time, the move Aoi used was exactly the same as before. It was still Roaming Dragon and Roaring Dragon. Seeing Aoi use the exact same move, Night Sorrow immediately felt that it was somewhat funny. Facing these two moves, he still used the same move to respond and easily blocked the other party's attack. Although it consumed some energy, it wasn't much. However, at this time, Night Sorrow discovered that a trace of a sly smile appeared on Aoi's face. What's going on? Is he plotting something? Night Sorrow, who still chose to bide his time, secretly guessed in his heart. At this time, Yunyi reminded again, I feel that this Aoi is definitely plotting something. Be careful. I can see a little. But I can't guess. His kind of attack can consume my divine essence energy. But this kind of consumption speed, I can completely withstand it. Night Sorrow replied to Yunyi. Since you can't guess, then take the initiative to attack and don't give him any chance. Yunyi reminded worriedly. He felt that at this time, Night Sorrow was following Aoi's rhythm. This was somewhat dangerous. Don't worry, I'll be fine. He doesn't have the ability to insta-kill me. Night Sorrow replied and looked at Aoi again. This time, he was prepared to find an opportunity to counterattack after Aoi attacked. He knew that he definitely couldn't just let go. Are you very curious why I'm continuously using the same move to deal with you? Because to deal with you, using these two moves is enough. At this time, Aoi swallowed a few more pills. This time, not only did his aura completely recover, but it also grew wildly. Feeling the swelling strength, Aoi's face revealed a bloodthirsty smile. So you still have pills that can raise your aura. No wonder he looked so confident. As Aoi's strength continued to rise, Night Sorrow immediately felt a trace of pressure. At this moment, he started to think about how he could kill Aoi if he didn't execute the Supreme Dragon Subduing technique. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that his greatest advantage at the moment was the 9 heaven-defying steps. Immediately, he started to think about how to use the 9 steps of the heaven-defying technique to enhance his offensive unique skill. While Night Sorrow and Aoi were fighting, Sea Dragon King, who was sitting at the top of the viewing platform, looked at Heaven Defying beside him and asked, City Lord, who do you think will win the next battle? I was the one who brought Night Devil here, so I naturally think that he will win. Tian and I looked at Sea Dragon King and said. He was still very confident in Night Sorrow. If he really couldn't do it, he could just let Night Sorrow use the Supreme Dragon Subduing technique. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King smiled and said, I think Aoi will win. Since we don't agree, why don't we make a bet? Oh. What do you want to bet? Tian and I looked at Sea Dragon King and asked. He was still very confident in this bet. Sea Dragon King, who was also confident, pointed at Su Lei and said, "Bet on the beauty, what do you think? If I win, how about you give that female practitioner to me?" You. Hearing Sea Dragon King's words, Su Lei was a little angry. But the other party was too strong, she didn't have the ability to resist, so she didn't dare to say anything. Hee hee. It's not impossible to have Su Lei. If you lose, you have to give all 3 of your daughters to me, do you dare to bet? Tian and I, who knew that Su Lei was wronged, said with a fake smile. He directly asked for Sea Dragon King's 3 princesses, and with this, the smell of gunpowder rose. Lord City Lord, well said. Hearing Tian and I say this, Su Lei immediately transmitted her voice to vent her anger. She was very unhappy with the extremely lecherous Sea Dragon King. Hearing Tian and I mention Sea Dragon King, he was so angry that his dragon horns were almost crooked. He calmed down for a while before saying, "All right. I, Sea Dragon King, will accept your bet." Then, he transmitted his voice to Ao Lai, "Use all the things I taught you, and quickly kill him." "Yes, father. Your son will definitely kill him. I won't embarrass father and my sisters." Ao Lai heard Sea Dragon King's transmission and immediately promised solemnly. At this time, he had already used Roaming Dragon and Roaring Dragon 3 times. Feeling that Night Sorrow was almost exhausted, he immediately took out the trident that Sea Dragon King gave him from his spatial artifact. Be careful, this is Sea Dragon King's divine weapon when he was young, Sea Emperor's trident. It's the top existence among Sky's supreme level divine weapons. Also, we can't lose this bet. If it really doesn't work, use the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. Even if we're exposed, we can't lose Su Lei. Seeing Ao Lai take out Sea Emperor's trident, Tian and I immediately reminded him. "Don't worry, no matter what, I will win this battle." Night Sorrow, who was floating in the air, held the golden heavenly halberd and transmitted his voice to Tian and I. He continued to transmit his voice to Su Lei and comforted him, "This matter started because of me, I won't push you into the fire pit. I believe in you." Su Lei replied, and then transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow, telling him a chant, "This is the Yu Jia family's forbidden flame attack, Nirvana Heartfire. When used, it can burn the opponent's soul. You have the Phoenix bloodline, so you should be able to use it." "Thank you." A thought flashed through Night Sorrow's mind, and he comprehended the secret art that Su Lei had taught him. He thought to himself, this Nirvana Heartfire is indeed not simple. If used successfully, Ao Lai's soul will definitely be burned. However, the time needed to condense it is too long. It can only be brewed in about 10 breaths. That's right. I can wait until he swallows a pill to use it. Su Lei should have the same intention. What? Seeing this prince's trident, you're so scared that you're stunned. Are you ready to surrender? Seeing that Night Sorrow was a little distracted, Ao Lai, who was holding Sea Emperor's trident, mocked him coldly. "I'm thinking about how to deal with your 3 sisters after winning." Facing Ao Lai's provocation, Night Sorrow replied with a fake smile. "Bastard. My sisters are not people that a lowly ant like you can insult." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ao Lai was instantly enraged. He directly activated Sea Emperor's trident and slashed towards Night Sorrow. When Ao Lai used the trident, the spectators immediately exclaimed. This was because the trident was actually the attack left behind by the Sea Dragon King. This was completely shameless from start to finish. Chapter 3203. Sea Dragon King, you actually poured your own attack into the Sea Emperor's trident. This has already seriously affected the fairness of the battle, isn't it a little too much? Seeing that Ao Lai's trident was an attack from the Sea Dragon King, Tian and I immediately questioned in a bad mood. Sea Dragon King sneered and said, "They are not sparring, but a battle of life and death without talking about the rules. Everything they do is reasonable. If you want to blame someone, blame this night demon for not being prepared enough." Sea Dragon King's words were extremely cold. Tian and I almost exploded, but when he thought about the sea-calming divine iron that he was after, he barely suppressed his anger. He sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, directly used the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. There's no need to worry. I'm afraid the Supreme Dragon subduing technique won't be able to block this attack. But I have other methods that can block it. Night Sorrow replied to Tian and I and began to think about whether to use the ancient coffin or Yan's calligraphy. After thinking for a moment, he finally took out Yan's calligraphy. He blocked Ao Lai's attack. He thought to himself, if Senior Yan's calligraphy can't block it, I can only use the ancient coffin. Ha ha ha. He actually took out a small calligraphy to block my father's attack. That's simply wishful thinking. Seeing that Night Sorrow actually took out a calligraphy to block the Sea Dragon King's attack, Ao Lai couldn't help but laugh out loud, mocking Night Sorrow for overestimating himself. What do you know? Facing this attack, Night Sorrow was filled with anticipation. He knew that something left behind by an expert of the extreme realm was definitely not simple. This was where the dignity of a top expert lay. Boom! Then, under everyone's focused gazes, the Sea Dragon King's attack accurately struck Yan's calligraphy. After the collision, the Sea Dragon King's attack instantly turned into nothingness. The calligraphy was still intact, but the fluorescent light on it dimmed a little. Obviously, this calligraphy should not be able to withstand more than a few attacks of this level. Even so, everyone watching the battle was still surprised. They did not know what was going on with the calligraphy in Night Sorrow's hands. Why would such an attack erupt? Ha ha ha. Good. That's great. Seeing Night Sorrow block the Sea Dragon King's attack with the calligraphy, Yunyi waved his fist excitedly. He did not expect that the copybook he gave to Night Sorrow would have such an effect. He was pleasantly surprised. What an unexpected surprise. I didn't expect the copybook to be so useful. Xian Mian, who was beside him, also sighed. After all, he had also studied the copybook back then, but he had not been able to find anything. Tian and I, who was sitting at the top, looked at Sea Dragon King and said sarcastically, "Looks like Brother Dragon King is still gentlemanly and deliberately showed mercy. Otherwise, with Night Demon's ability, how could he block your attack?" Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King glanced at the heaven-defying bead but didn't say anything. He sent a message to Ao Lai with an annoyed expression, "You useless thing, hurry up and kill him. This Emperor's trident is not as simple as a single strike." As the person involved, Ao Lai was stunned. He never expected that the Sea Dragon King's attack would be blocked. His confidence took a huge hit. Hearing the Sea Dragon King's words, he suddenly woke up from his dream and said, "Yes, father." Then, he waved the trident and fought with Night Sorrow. The attacks from the Sea King's trident were not as terrifying as the previous one, but they were all at the level of a middle heavenly sovereign. Night Sorrow found it difficult to block them. However, he persevered and did not use the copybook again. He knew that with Ao Lai's strength, it would not take long for him to use this level of attack. When Ao Lai was almost exhausted, his chance would come. "You are indeed quite strong. You are not easy to deal with. However, with the help of the Sea Spirit Elixir and the Sea King's Trident, you will not have the chance to counterattack." When the divine origin energy in his body was almost exhausted, Ao Lai once again distanced himself from Night Sorrow. He floated in the void and swallowed the Sea Spirit Elixir. "You swallowed the Sea Spirit Elixir a few times in a row and I did not attack. It was to make you lower your guard. You are really careless." At this moment, Night Sorrow laughed coldly and used the seal and fix formula. He temporarily sealed Ao Lai and then used the Nirvana Heart Fire that Su Lei had taught him. The timing is very good. You are in a battle of life and death. Do not show any mercy. Seeing Night Sorrow use the Nirvana Heart Fire that he had taught him, Su Lei shouted loudly. Night Sorrow had been suppressed and she was quite nervous. Now, she was finally relieved. Dancing Lady, who was sitting beside Su Lei, laughed when she saw her performance. At this moment, Night Sorrow replied, "Don't worry, I will not give him any chance to counterattack." As his voice fell, the Sea Dragon King's expression became very ugly. In comparison, it was even worse than Aolai, who had been hit by the Nirvana Heart Fire. However, very quickly, Aolai's face became completely distorted and looked more and more ferocious. Night Sorrow and Su Lei knew that this was the Nirvana Heart Fire burning Aolai's soul. Victory and defeat have been decided. Life and death have been decided. Facing the distorted Aolai, Night Sorrow did not hesitate at all. He used the golden heavenly halberd and used the divine spear. At this moment, Aolai did not have the ability to block such an attack. Without any resistance, his dantian was directly shattered by Night Sorrow. Humph. Seeing Night Sorrow shatter Aolai's dantian, the Sea Dragon King was so angry that he slapped his own thigh. He did not expect that his playmate's scheme would not be able to defeat an Earth Sovereign in front of him. As for the three daughters of the Sea Dragon King, each of them looked more terrified than the other. They knew that this time, Aolai had been completely defeated. They had been defeated. The three of them looked at each other, their faces full of bitterness. How could they have expected that they would lose the battle that they had been confident of winning? Just as they were surprised, Night Sorrow attacked again and killed Aolai. He also took away his Sea King's trident and the remaining dozen Sea Spirit pills. After killing Aolai, Night Sorrow looked at Tian and I and said, "City Lord, the Night Demon did not disappoint you and successfully obtained victory. Good, very good. This is the reward you deserve." Tian and I took out an interspatial ring with a smile and threw it to Night Sorrow. Then, he looked at the Sea Dragon King and said, "Dragon King, I will reward your 3 princesses to the Night Demon. Do you have any objections?" Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King was so angry that his body trembled. However, he still looked at his 3 daughters and gritted his teeth. "Go. Royal Father." After being reprimanded by the Sea Dragon King, the 3 princesses turned pale. They did not have any intention of taking a step forward. "All of you, get lost. From today onwards, you are no longer part of the Sea Dragon royal family," the Sea Dragon King said angrily. Then, he no longer looked at the 3 princesses and turned to Tian and I. "Since it is a battle, there will definitely be more than one. Let's go have a meal first and continue the battle when we return. How about it?" Chapter 3204. I don't object to the duel. But there's no need to continue the duel, right? So as not to hurt the harmony between us. Tian and I had already determined that Sea Dragon King was angry from the death of one of his sons. Just like a gambler, he wanted to win back what he had lost. He did not wish for anyone on his side to die, so he said. Hearing this, Sea Dragon King said aggressively, "Since it's a duel, of course it has to be a life and death duel. Otherwise, what's the point?" At the same time, he looked at Tian and I with anger in his eyes. Obviously, he was hinting to Tian and I that if Tian and I did not agree to the duel, he would directly flip out. And this was Sea Dragon Imperial City after all. If he was angry, the people of Sea Dragon City would definitely be at a disadvantage. Seeing Sea Dragon King like this, Tian and I sneered, "Then how many duels do you think are suitable?" 10. Sea Dragon King said without hesitation. To him, if one person on his side died, he wanted to see 10 people on the other side die. Hearing this, Tian and I transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. "How many people can you send? Remember, they must be strong." "I can send 5. If there are no rules, I can send 6. Night Sorrow replied without hesitation. "What? 5 or 6? Are you sure? This is a life and death duel. The Sea Dragon clan will definitely send out all kinds of experts." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Tian and I transmitted his voice doubtfully. "Of course I'm sure. But I hope that during the duel, it will be like Tianji's horse race. Their people will go first, and our people will go later. Night Sorrow replied. If the rules allowed it, he was prepared to fight another duel. Also, he wanted Dancing Lady and Su Lei to fight, but he needed to help them pick out weaker opponents. 2 people dying in battle was something he could not accept, so he had to make sure that nothing went wrong. All right. I'll talk to Sea Dragon King. Send out 6 from your side. As for the other candidates, I'll arrange it. After receiving Night Sorrow's confirmation, Tian and I immediately started talking with Sea Dragon King. After some discussion, Sea Dragon King finally agreed to Tian Ni's condition, allowing their people to choose opponents like the Sea Dragons. After the 2 of them finished discussing the rules, the Sea Dragon King called out the remaining 8 sons and the other 2 talented lower heavenly sovereigns. Among the Sea Dragons, the first prince and the second prince were both middle heavenly sovereigns. None of the middle heavenly sovereigns on the heaven-defying bead side were a match for them. As for the other princes, although they were also very strong, they were not necessarily much stronger than the fully armed Ao Lai. Night Sorrow and the others still had a chance to win against them. Wu Meng, you're the first to fight. After all 10 of them stepped forward, the Sea Dragon King looked at the sea dragon named Wu Meng. Yes. Your Majesty. The sea dragon named Wu Meng bowed to the Sea Dragon King before flying onto the stage. He roared arrogantly, "Who dares to fight with me? Who do you think is suitable?" After Wu Meng went on stage, Heaven Defying immediately looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Pasua, Su Lei, which one of you will go? He and the other non-royal sea dragon shouldn't be a match for you." At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at Pasua and Su Lei. According to Night Sorrow's calculations, the 2 of them had to fight, and their opponents had to be Wu Meng and the other non-royal sea dragon. If they were to fight against a royal sea dragon, the 2 of them should not be his match. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Pasua looked at Su Lei and said, "The opponents first to fight will definitely be the weakest. You are slightly stronger than me. Can I fight this round?" "Okay." Su Lei nodded and did not say much. Then, she looked at the other sea dragon who wasn't part of the royal family and examined him. As for Pasua, she said something to Heaven Defying and flew onto the stage. Is there no one else in Sea Dragon City? It's actually a female cultivator. Seeing that it was Pasua who flew up, Wu Meng sneered disdainfully. Sea Dragon City's female cultivators are enough to deal with you. Why should we send a male cultivator? Pasua replied coldly. I think you're here to die. Wu Meng roared and took out his blood-red long-handled sword, slashing at Pasua. Facing Pasua, who had a long-handled sword, he did not hesitate at all. She used one of her ultimate skills, Thousand Illusion Net, to block Wu Meng's long-handled sword. Then, she took the opportunity to use Thousand Illusion Eyes, summoning all the thousands of eyeballs in her vertical eye. She used the black hole to attack her opponent continuously. For a moment, the stage was filled with black light. You're quite capable. Wu Meng, who was facing Pasua, could clearly feel the pressure. He immediately ignited his sea dragon bloodline. When he ignited his bloodline, his aura immediately rose by a lot. It became much easier to dodge the black light of Thousand Illusion Eyes. I still have many more abilities. I'll let you see the ultimate skills exchanged from Lu Tian Academy. Pasua knew that the Thousand Illusion Eyes' continuous attacks would not hit and would consume her divine essence energy. So, she directly used the ultimate skill exchanged from Lu Tian Academy with her points. Traceless Lu Tian. This move was the cheapest ultimate skill in Lu Tian Academy, but its power was not weak at all. After Pasua used it, she immediately unleashed an earth-shattering attack on the stage. She suddenly summoned a huge sword behind Wu Meng. It slashed down silently. Amidst the exclamations of the audience, Wu Meng didn't even have time to react before he was cut in half. Pasua took the opportunity to shatter his Dantian and Divine Soul, successfully killing him. Then, she cut down Tian and I and said, City Governor, Pessoa did not disappoint you. Good. There's a reward. Tian and I praised with a smile and threw out a space ring. Inside the ring, there were all kinds of resources. Thank you, City Governor. After receiving the reward, Pessoa smiled and flew off the stage. Then, on the Sea Dragon King's side, it was indeed the non-royal sea dragon that Knight Sorrow and the rest had guessed. After he went on the stage and introduced himself, Knight Sorrow and the rest found out that this sea dragon was called Wu Huan and was Wu Meng's brother. Su Lei, you go. Seeing Wu Huan on the stage, Knight Sorrow observed with confidence and then let Su Lei go on the stage. As soon as Su Lei went on the stage, many creatures of the Sea of Evil were stunned. They did not expect that the second person from Sea Dragon City would be a female practitioner. Seeing that Su Lei went on the stage, Wu Huan frowned and said, You came up just in time. I'll let you go down and accompany my brother. You brothers should reunite. Facing Wu Huan's provocation, Su Lei did not show any weakness. After that, she directly attacked Wu Huan. Su Lei did not use her ultimate skill right away. She wanted to test Wu Huan's strength. In comparison, she was calmer than Pessoa. Chapter 3205. Although Su Lei's attack wasn't very strong when he was testing the waters, Wu Huan still treated him seriously. After all, Wu Meng's incident was still fresh in his mind. Although he was arrogant, he was still very cautious when he fought. Seeing Wu Huan's performance, the Sea Dragon King, who was originally very irritable, calmed down. He praised, Wu Huan's performance is not bad. Thank you for the compliment. Hearing the Sea Dragon King's praise, Wu Huan immediately replied in surprise. After that, in the battle with Su Lei, he became more and more stable. Not a single drop of water leaked out, and he faintly gained the upper hand. Does Su Lei have any tricks up her sleeve? The situation doesn't look too good. Seeing that Su Lei was still unable to turn the situation around even after using several secret techniques, the heaven-defying bead asked Yishang. He didn't want to see anyone on his side lose. After all, losing here meant death. Comic after transmigrating to AD 3000. Based on my understanding of Su Lei, she's definitely not that simple. Knight Sorrow knew that Su Lei was definitely stronger than what she was showing, so he wasn't too worried. Including Ao Lai, who had already lost 2 people, the spectators from the Sea of Evil were extremely depressed. Seeing that Su Lei was being suppressed by Wu Huan, they instantly became excited and kept cheering for Wu Huan. This made Wu Huan braver as he fought. However, thinking of the Sea Dragon King's praise, he didn't advance rashly. He had been steadily organizing his attacks. It's time for you to die. In this state, the battle went on for about an hour. Su Lei, who had been at a disadvantage, suddenly roared and ignited Yujia's bloodline. She used Yujia's ultimate technique and fiercely attacked Wu Huan. Su Lei, who had transformed into Yujia, this attack was at least 20 times stronger than her previous attack. Wu Huan, who had been steadily attacking and defending, couldn't react at all. When facing this attack, he didn't even organize the defense that he should have and was instantly killed by Su Lei's attack. Su Lei, who had killed Wu Huan, returned to her human form. The Yujia bloodline in her body wasn't very strong. Therefore, when she used her bloodline's ultimate technique, she suffered a huge backlash. After the battle ended, Knight Sorrow arranged for her to sit on the seat beside him. She controlled the rhythm so well, as expected of someone from Lu Tian Academy. Well fought, well fought. Seeing Su Lei's victory, Tian and I took out a ring with a smile and threw it towards her. Then, he looked at the Sea Dragon King and said, Brother Dragon King, I wonder who will be fighting next. The Sea Dragon King's gaze was on Su Lei. Only after being called did he come back to his senses and say, We will send Ao Xian. Let's invite the 8th prince. Tian and I knew that Ao Xian was the 8th prince of the Sea Dragon King, so he said. All right. 8th, you 8th. The Sea Dragon King immediately looked at the 8th Prince Xian and said, "Yes, father. Ao's battle Ao fighting the deaths of Ao Lai, Wu Meng, and Wu Huan not only didn't make him afraid, but also made him very excited. SSS battle his belligerent and fearless. Who wants to challenge me?" Flying above the arena, Ao Xian looked at the heaven-defying camp and roared. Yi yes yi Ao yes ss yi. Ao Xian challenged. Yin Yi looked at Night Sorrow and said. Hearing this, Yi Shang said with a smile, "Brother Yin Yi, it's better that you take the field. You should have no problem suppressing Ao Xian with your middle heavenly supreme strength. It's not a problem for me to suppress him. But the problem is, who's going to fight against the sea dragons in the future?" Yin Yi asked in confusion. The strength of sea dragon's side definitely has the advantage. We can only win one round at a time. Brother Yin Yi, you should fight. Leave the rest of the battle to me and the experts the city lord invited. Night Sorrow explained to Yin Yi. Among the experts invited by the heaven-defying bead, there were 3 who were stronger than Yin Yi and could be considered experts. Night Sorrow felt that it was reasonable for Yin Yi to fight now. As for him, he would wait until Yin Yi took the stage to fight. All right. Since you're so confident, I'll go first. Ao Xian challenged. Yin Yi didn't want Sea Dragon City to lose face, so he flew up to the stage. You're a middle heavenly supreme, but you're so timid that you don't dare to fight. What a joke. Ao Xian mocked after sizing up Yin Yi. He wasn't afraid of Yin Yi, who was a middle heavenly sovereign. We're arguing about who's the weakest. You're the weakest. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Yin Yi replied tit for tat. Even now, he still felt that he should fight after Night Sorrow. He didn't care about the lives of the people Tian and I had hired. No problem. But the problem is, who's the stronger one? The weak one needs to die. Facing Yin Yi, Ao Xian roared and directly transformed into Long Xing to attack him. Freeze. Ice. Seal. Yin Yi immediately used the 100 words mantra against Ao Xian's attack. Compared to Night Sorrow, he had a deeper understanding of the 100 words mantra. What he displayed was a combination of character formulas. Ao Xian's speed slowed down a lot after he used the 3-word mantra. Ao Xian thought that the speed was only temporary. He didn't expect that he would be slowed down for the rest of the battle. This made him very uncomfortable. In this state of being slowed down, Ao Xian was constantly in a suppressed state when fighting with Yin Yi. Even when they were fighting with their lives on the line, Ao Xian didn't explode. In the end, Yin Yi successfully killed him. The people from Sea Dragon City actually won again. Including Ao Lai, 4 people from the Sea of Evil have been killed. How can we accept this? Sea Dragon King wasn't the only one who was gloomy when he saw Ao Xian killed. Everyone from the Sea of Evil was enraged. None of them didn't feel embarrassed. Ever since Sea Dragon City and the Sea of Evil had established diplomatic relations, the Sea of Evil had always taken the initiative. They had never been abused like this before. Sea Dragon King immediately looked at one of the princes and said, "Second brother, you'll fight. I don't think anyone on their side is stronger than you. Go and kill your opponent. Boost our morale." "Yes, father. I won't let you down." Second Prince Ao Xiong responded and immediately flew onto the stage. Tian Ni's expression changed when he saw that it was Second Prince Ao Xiong. He was clear that no one on his side was Ao Xiong's opponent. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, "This Ao Xiong is very strong. No one on our side can fight against him. What should we do?" "I have a good plan to defeat this Ao Xiong." "That's good," Yi Shang said unhurriedly. Chapter 3206. Oh. What good plan do you have? Don't tell me you want to use your own foundation to fight against him? This won't do. If the treasure is too precious, it will cause the Sea Dragon King to covet it. Hearing this, Tian and I immediately asked. It's not that I want to fight. Didn't the Sea Dragon King lose his 3 daughters to us? Why don't we just send one of them to fight Ao Cheong? Whether he lives or dies, it has nothing to do with us. Night Sorrow explained and then continued, as for the other princes, they will also receive the same treatment. Although they are strong, it is a life and death battle with their own brothers. Even if they win, the Sea Dragon King will not have any face. He knew that both sides had already reached the climax of the battle. Saying anything now would be useless. After all, because of this battle, both sides had cancelled the meal segment. Good. This method is very good. It can prevent us from dying for no reason and also attack the Sea Dragon King. However, he won't explode because of this, right? When Tian and I heard Night Sorrow's tactic, he immediately slapped the table and praised. At the same time, he was worried that the Sea Dragon King would explode. As for pity, it did not exist at all. Although this method was a bit cruel, the Sea Dragon King asked for it. If he did not have ideas about Su Lei and forced the Sea Dragon City to accept the 10 life and death challenges, things would not have turned out like this. Which of the 3 of you is the weakest? Go up and fight with Ao Cheong. After pondering for a while, Tian and I felt that he could not let his subordinates die, so he looked at the 3 princesses and said. At this moment, he had the upper hand, which made him secretly happy. He had come to the Sea of Evil many times, but this was the first time he had completely suppressed the Sea Dragon King. Although this feeling could not be compared to snatching the sea calming divine iron, it was still very satisfying. And this sentence was like a judgment. It made the 3 daughters of the Sea Dragon King, Ao Yu, Ao Shui and Ao Yun, all stunned. Eldest Princess Ao Yu said angrily, "What does the battle between you 3 have to do with the 3 of us? We are not going." Hearing this, Tian and I sneered, "The 3 of you are our servants and have no right to refute. Whoever is the weakest will go up. None of you can escape. The other 2 opponents are the first prince and the 3rd prince. I'm going to send the strongest of you to fight the 3rd prince. If I'm still killed, then there's nothing I can do. You devil. We won't comply." Hearing this, eldest Princess Ao Yu instantly roared furiously. She couldn't accept the fact that they had to face her brother. Even though the relationship between them and those so-called princes could not be considered harmonious. The real devil is the Sea Dragon King. If it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have lost to me, and we wouldn't have participated in this life and death battle. If you want to blame someone, blame him. Tian and I said coldly. Then he saw that the 3 of them didn't want to go on stage. He pointed at Ao Yun and said, "It's you. Go up the stage and fight with Ao Cheong. Remember your place." "I'm not going." When Ao Yun saw Heaven Defying pointing at him, he immediately refused with a roar. Hearing this, Heaven Defying smiled coldly and said, "Go or not, it's not up to you at all. Don't forget the Heavenly Tao contract between us. Either way, we're going to die. Kill me if you can." When Ao Yun heard this, she still didn't have the intention to go on stage. She even raised her head and waited for Tian and I to kill her. At this moment, Tian and I didn't care about Ao Yun at all. Instead, he looked at the Sea Dragon King and said, "Dragon King, the people we send out won't go on stage. How do you think this matter should be resolved?" He was kicking the problem to the Sea Dragon King. No matter how the Sea Dragon King handled it, it would be beneficial to his side. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King, who already understood that Tian and I was going to send his 3 princesses on stage. His expression immediately became even gloomier. After being silent for a while, he looked at Ao Yun and said, "For this round, I'll count it as your Sea Dragon City forfeiting. Ao Cheong, come down." In the end, he still didn't ruthlessly order his 3 daughters to go on stage and personally watch his children kill each other. Furthermore, he didn't give Tian and I any chance to refute. "All right. This way, it's fine too. My sea dragon city has lost this round. When Tian and I got such an answer, he was completely emotionless. He also didn't wish to drive the Sea Dragon King completely crazy. That way, they might very well have to fight here. It was disadvantageous to the brewing matter. As for Night Sorrow and the rest, they also felt that this was fine. After all, they weren't particularly cruel people. They had no choice but to make such a choice. It wasn't bad to use the three of them as a token to avoid death. As for the spectators of the Sea of Evil, they didn't dare to express any opinions at all. They didn't dare to go against the Sea Dragon King's wishes at all. Seeing that no one objected, the Sea Dragon King looked at Tian and I and said, "Since this round is so clear, I'll send Aoshin for the next round." Aoshin was none other than his seventh prince. Father. Hearing his name, Aoshin bowed to the Sea Dragon King and flew onto the stage. Looking at the people of Sea Dragon City, he said, "If you have the guts, come out and fight like a man. Using women to save your life, what kind of ability is that? I'll fight with him." This time, without waiting for Tian and I to speak, Night Sorrow directly said, "Are you confident?" After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Tian and I asked with concern. "Yes." According to my observation, he shouldn't be much stronger than Ao Lai. I have the copybook with me, so I have a chance to defeat him. Night Sorrow, who was observing Aoshin with the Mirage Dragon's eye, replied with certainty. He had the copybook and the strange coffin. It was impossible for him to lose. Then I won't waste time on pleasantries. Be careful. Tian and I said to Night Sorrow. Okay. Yi Shang said and waved to the crowd. He then flew to the arena and said to Aoshin, "I'll fight you." "It's you." Aoshin, who was staring at Night Sorrow, flew into a rage when he realized that it was him on the stage. "Today, I will avenge Ao Lai. Prepare to die." Without giving Night Sorrow a chance to talk back, Aoshin summoned his battle pet right away. It was a huge wolf with red fur. The huge wolf pounced on Night Sorrow at once. It was very fast. In the old days, Night Sorrow would have fallen for the attack. However, at the moment, Night Sorrow used the 9 steps of the Defiant and dodged the attack with ease. However, the huge wolf's attacks were violent. Even though Night Sorrow kept dodging, the wolf would not give up. While the huge wolf was attacking, Aoshin had been preparing for an attack. It had been preparing for a long time. It had been over a dozen breaths, but it had yet to launch an attack. Night Sorrow was surprised and alarmed at the same time. Yin Yi reminded him, "Be careful. He is summoning a powerful demon. If the summoning succeeds, you won't have to deal with it." Chapter 3207. Well, I'll interrupt his summoning then. Night Sorrow replied as he dodged the wolf's attack with the 9 steps of the Defiant. He used the combination of the ice, seal, and fix character arts. He had learned that from Yunye's battles. He had just learned it, but he was able to use it smoothly. He immediately interrupted Aoshin's summoning. Bastard. I was so close to summoning the Abyssal Shadow Demon. Aoshin's face was filled with resentment and regret after his summoning was interrupted. The Abyssal Shadow Demon that he had summoned was very powerful. It was at least as powerful as an Upper Heavenly Supreme. If the summoning was successful, it would be of great help. I think you should rely on your own strength. You'll only harm yourself if you rely on external forces. After interrupting Aoshin's summoning, Night Sorrow smirked as he fought against the wolf. When the wolf was first summoned, its attacks were ferocious. However, after a while, Night Sorrow realized that the wolf only knew the 3 moves. The subsequent attacks were all repeated. After familiarizing himself with the wolf's moves, he could easily use the Golden Heavenly Halberd to fight against the wolf. I was going to ask the Abyssal Shadow Demon to take you to the deep abyss for endless torture. Since the summoning failed, I'll send you to your death. After making sure that the abyssal shadow demon could not be summoned, Aoshin roared and took out his relic. It was a long, pitch-black blade with a long handle. With the blade in hand, Aoshin attacked Night Sorrow together with the wolf. I didn't expect that you, a member of the Sea Dragon royal family, would attack together with your battle pet instead of focusing on yourself. It's really an eye-opener for me. After Aoshin began to attack, Night Sorrow realized that Aoshin was assisting the wolf. All the attacks were coordinated with the wolf. This was the first time that he had seen such a situation. Don't be surprised. What do you know? Aoshin replied with disdain after being mocked by Night Sorrow. Then, he continued to attack together with the wolf. With the addition of Aoshin, Night Sorrow was under a lot of pressure. At this moment, he combined the 9 steps of the Defiant and the Qingxian spear technique. The combination of the two skills worked wonders. Soon, Aoshin and the wolf were suppressed. If it weren't for the fact that Aoshin and the wolf were telepathic, Night Sorrow would have defeated them. The wolf is still the wolf? At this point in the battle, Yi Shang was even more surprised. He had thought that Aoshin would use his own ultimate skill sooner or later. But that was not the case. Even though Night Sorrow was overpowered, Aoshin was still the wolf. At this moment, Night Sorrow activated the Sea Serpent's Eye and observed the situation on the stage. The Sea Dragon King, the Dragon King, was not surprised dragon. He guessed that Aoshin must have fought like this on a daily basis. Also, Aoshin must have some other tricks up his sleeve. Therefore, during the battle, he secretly took out the copybook, just in case. Let's see how long you can jump around. Aoshin's eyes grew colder and colder as the battle continued. He must be plotting something. Night Sorrow had been suppressing Aoshin and the wolf, but he couldn't find a way to kill them. He noticed that Aoshin's eyes were getting colder and colder. He could feel that Aoshin was plotting something. Under such circumstances, the battle continued for a few dozen breaths. Aoshin's eyes were sharp. I have accumulated enough fighting spirit. Let's transform. Okay. The wolf replied. Then, she let out a long howl and transformed into her human form. Aoshin also transformed from his dragon form to his human form. Night Sorrow looked at the wolf and saw that it was a woman in human form. After the transformation, her aura had broken through the peak lower heavenly sovereign level and reached the middle heavenly sovereign level. Obviously, she was much more powerful than Aoshin. Let me tell you. She is not only my war pet, but she is also my partner. Let's see how you are going to fight against a middle heavenly sovereign. Aoshin roared with a smile after both of them had transformed into their human forms. The relationship between the two of you is strange. Night Sorrow said in surprise when he realized that the wolf was Aoshin's partner. At the same time, he let down his guard. The wolf had used the fighting spirit to temporarily reach the middle heavenly sovereign level. Although it wasn't easy to deal with, it wasn't impossible. Strange or not, it's not up to you to decide. The giant wolf that had transformed into a human roared coldly and arrogantly. Then, unexpectedly, it merged with Aoshin and began to perform its ultimate skill. Sky-shaking wolf soul. It blasted toward Night Sorrow. This skill was an extremely powerful spiritual attack, and it didn't require any guidance. When it was unleashed, it was as terrifying as a sudden clap of thunder. Seems like I was right to take out the copybook in advance. Night Sorrow used the copybook to block the attack, and at the same time, used the soft dragon roar. He was more comfortable with this skill and could use it at will. This was the most appropriate time to use it. He knew that Aoshin and the wolf combined to unleash this skill. It was beyond his level, and he couldn't withstand it. Bam! With the help of the copybook, Night Sorrow barely withstood the attack. At the same time, he realized that Aoshin and the wolf in human form had separated. After unleashing the spiritual attack, the aura on their bodies had weakened by almost 50%. You've been preparing for such a long time to unleash a spiritual attack, and now you're out of energy? Knight Sorrow was relieved when he realized that Ao Shen and the wolf's aura had weakened significantly. However, he didn't let his guard down and continued to fight Ao Shen and the wolf carefully. In the end, as expected, he killed the two of them. Great! Knight Sorrow, well done. When Knight Sorrow killed Ao Shen, Yun Yi and the rest who were worried about him immediately cheered. Tian Ni's face was also filled with joy. The Sea Dragon King's expression wasn't as pleasant. He didn't give Knight Sorrow and the rest any time to exchange pleasantries. He said coldly, "Next round." This time, he sent out his own sixth prince. According to Knight Sorrow's arrangement, the fourth, fifth, and sixth princes all needed to be joined by Tian Ni's mercenaries. Therefore, this had nothing to do with Knight Sorrow and the rest. The remaining first and third princes were handed over to the other two princesses. Without the pressure of battle, Knight Sorrow turned his attention to other directions. He sent a telepathic message to Little Seven and the rest and asked, "Have you guys sensed where Little Eight is?" "I sensed it the moment I entered the Sea Dragon Imperial City. Little Eight is in the center of the city, in a very conspicuous place. It's not easy to get it." Little Nine replied after Knight Sorrow spoke. "A conspicuous place? Where is it?" Knight Sorrow asked. Chapter 3208. In the most central square of Sea Dragon City. It is constantly absorbing the dark aura of the Sea of Evil and has completely turned dark. If you want it to regain its original nature, you will need to spend a lot of energy. Little Nine continued to transmit his voice. He felt that if he wanted to completely turn it dark, or rather, purify the 8th level of the demon realm, it would take a long time. After all, the 8th level now was 10 times darker than when he was at that time. It's not a problem for him to be invaded by the dark aura. When Knight Sorrow heard Little Nine's words, he was not too worried. He felt that the biggest problem was the location of the 8th level. It was a little awkward. As long as they made a move, they would definitely alarm a large number of sea dragons. After pondering for a moment, he said, "We can only wait for Senior Heaven Defying to make a move and cause a big commotion. Only then can we find an opportunity to make a move. It's like this. If you want to take it away, you still need a bit of luck." Little Nine continued. Little Five and Little Seven had been helping Knight Sorrow think of a way. They all knew how much risk they had to take back the 8th level. Boom. Good. 6th Prince, good kill. Just as Knight Sorrow and Little Nine were communicating for a short while, the battle on the stage had already ended. 6th Prince Ao Lin had already killed an expert hired by Heaven Defying. In less than 10 breaths of time. A quick victory allowed the creatures of the Sea of Evil to be completely unleashed. This was the victory they had been waiting for. However, the Sea Dragon King, who had lost a few princes, did not seem happy at all. Between his brows, there was still resentment and coldness. After the 5th prince went up, he looked at Su Lei and then looked at Knight Sorrow. There was a special meaning in his gaze. This Sea Dragon King probably has his eyes on Su Lei and little brother Knight. Sitting beside the Sea Dragon King, Heaven Defying followed his gaze. After seeing Su Lei and Knight Sorrow, he immediately started to worry for them. He transmitted his voice to Knight Sorrow, "This Sea Dragon King has already locked onto you. From now on, before we make a move, don't leave my side." I've already noticed his gaze. If I'm not wrong, he will soon make a move on me and Su Lei. Knight Sorrow replied telepathically. He could clearly feel the Sea Dragon King's malice. When the matter of the martial arts arena is over, we will properly discuss the matter of making a move. No matter how anxious this Sea Dragon King is, he will arrange a place for us to rest. He won't attack immediately. Tian and I continued. According to his judgment, the Sea Dragon King would arrange for everyone to take a short break after the battle. At that time, it was very likely that he would completely turn hostile. The Sea Dragon King should have the intention to attack us. The place he arranged must not be entered. Otherwise, I will definitely be trapped in the movement technique. Night Sorrow immediately said after hearing Tian Ni's words. If they rashly entered the place arranged by the Sea Dragon King, they would definitely die miserably. There were definitely many array formations in the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. Don't worry. The Sea Dragon King will definitely not arrange a powerful formation to trap us. That would expose him. If I revert back to my original form, I can break through ordinary formations. Hearing Night Sorrow's worry, Tian and I said and then continued, we are going to enter the array he arranged, then break out of the array and catch him off guard. Makes sense. It's a good idea to take a risk. Hearing this, Night Sorrow suddenly felt that this was not bad. Then he transmitted his voice to the restriction-breaking hammer. How are you guys recovering? If Senior Tian and I can't break the array, you guys will need to take action. We will do our best. But as long as it is a heavenly supreme level array formation, we should be able to break it. After deciphering Yan's calligraphy, our strength is not small. The restriction-breaking hammer's male hammer immediately replied. That's good. Night Sorrow did not say much. He knew that the restriction-breaking hammer was very strict and would not exaggerate. After that, he began to watch the next battle. This battle lasted a lot longer than the previous one. It lasted for around an hour. The Sea Dragon's fifth prince successfully defeated the Sea Dragon City's cultivators. In the following battles, the Sea Dragon's fourth prince also successfully won. As for the last two battles, because it was a civil war of the Sea Dragon Imperial family, they did not fight at all. After the competition ended, the Sea Dragon King, who had won 3 rounds in a row, had a slightly warmer expression. He looked at Tian and I and said, let's go eat first, then I'll send someone to bring you guys to rest. Wait for the next day, we'll hold the trading meeting. I hope that the things that the city lord brought this time are sincere enough. Of course we have sincerity. Tian and I looked at the Sea Dragon King. He knew that the other party had ulterior motives. He would probably do something to the food. He transmitted his voice to remind everyone to pay attention. Therefore, during the banquet, the people of Sea Dragon City basically did not eat anything. This attracted the disdain of the Sea Dragon Imperial family's princes. Night Sorrow and the rest did not care about their ridicule. Then, the Sea Dragon King arranged for people to bring Tian and I, Night Sorrow, and the rest away and arranged for them to stay in the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. After arriving at the courtyard arranged by the Sea Dragon King, Tian and I observed the courtyard to see if there was an array formation. Night Sorrow also observed and realized that there were indeed array patterns in the courtyard. It was just that they were not activated at this time. He transmitted his voice to Tian and I feel that since the Sea Dragon King arranged for us to be together, he might not make a move immediately. He might want to separate you from us tomorrow and then make a move. And, this is his territory after all, he still wants stability. Tian and I thought for a while and said, do you think we should make a move today? Of course. The Sea Dragon King in front of us should not know what our goal is, so he can still hold back for now. We must take advantage of the fact that he has not reacted and make a move. He should not expect that we would take the initiative to attack in his territory. Night Sorrow analyzed. This was what he saw from the arrangements of the Sea Dragon King. That's good. We will rest for a while and make a move. Before I make a move on the Sea Calming Divine Iron, I will release all the cultivators imprisoned in Sea Dragon Imperial City. Once they are released, it will definitely cause chaos. When the Sea Dragon Imperial City is in chaos, I will make a move on the Sea Calming Divine Iron. When the time comes, make a move on the target and then escape. Tian and I instructed and began to make preparations. Night Sorrow began to explain the tactics to Swaying Lady, Su Lei, and the rest. About 6 hours after arriving at the residence, Tian and I transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow, get ready, I'm going. After saying that, he avoided the eyes of the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace and sneaked out of the residence alone. He headed to the cage where the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace imprisoned the cultivators from the outside world. Night Sorrow and the rest were prepared to make a move and wait for the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace to become chaotic. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.